where crimes are baked in every show, mysteries rise and truth unfolding. Ready, set, it's time to go. We stand the time to go. Whistling through this battering news, mixing stories, solving the lies. In this kitchen, secrets are broken with a spark in our eyes. In the broken baker's kitchen, where secrets crumble like sunrise, we'll sift the blues to find the rules. With a spark in our eyes, the broken arise. Broken arise. Welcome to the Broken Baker. Get ready. Let's go.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good whatever you are, whoever you are, wherever you are. And yes, Valhalla had it correctly. Jamie was yelling at me in the green room. I might have been crying, and I needed a little time to just collect myself, because even though I'm a big guy, I have feelings too.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Christy. Good morning. And wicked psych. Monsieur Brandon. Pete's pony. No, in my age, it doesn't happen that much.
Oh, peace.
That's a nice manicure.
I haven't seen you in a while. How are you?
I don't get manicures. Billy Marie, can read trial withdrawals. Is there a trial?
There's never a trial. Jesus
It's been
Christ,
5 days.
there's
Nothing is happening. And I love on the Bev day 2 saying, let's keep this moving.
like this is going to take forever. It's dragging out forever. You guys need to hurry up. Okay, let's take a 2-week vacation. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Chris Mullen. Up late. And Marissa. Mom of 10. La mère de 10. That's mom in 10.
Thank you.
Notice? I didn't put up a notice. Well, I put one on Twitter. Had to clean up that Bronny mascara before you started. I get it, bro. I've been there. You know how it is. You're ready to go, and then the door slams open and people start yelling. Sometimes it's even the SWAT. Hey, Patty B. And Palola's mom. In the intro, there's a woman's hand measuring flour, and she has a nice manicure. Well, it's a part of my new baker cult, because I just watched Mo, and she said we can have a cult. So I want to have a cult. Smeks is optional with the leader for the first day or 2.
Oh, Lord.
I didn't. What? Oh, I said whatever you are, whoever you are. Yeah, I forgot. That's a Commonwealth opening. Hey, K. Marshall. Yamaha biker. Don't get any splinters. And Mess is ready to go. Do you know what his avatar is?
Mass?
Yeah.
It's tiny, but it looks like a ball with a horse.
I'm sorry, Mess. Don't listen to her. It's probably average sized.
What is it?
It's the Sun Wagon. It's an old. Can't remember where they found it. It's from. I think it's from the Bronze Ages. They found it in a field somewhere, and it's a horse dragging some kind of shield. I think it's called the Sun Wagon. Might be wrong. Hey, Carla. Andy Robertson. Sun Chariot, yeah, is the official translation.
There you go. Sun Chariot. Well, isn't that adorable?
The Music Man from Sacramento, California. Can we get a bailiff on from the Commonwealth to tide us over? Jamie will interrupt me every 5 minutes I speak, and if we're lucky, either Marissa or Mo will come on, and they will go on, ask a question starting with what if anything, and
Uh-huh.
they will talk for so long and so complicated that we're all just going to sit here and think poking our eardrums could be an option, a good option.
That's
I
terrible.
downloaded the openings. Just the first 2 minutes I listened to while downloading it, I was just, why do I do this to myself?
Yeah, it's gonna be torture.
Oh, by the way, is my sound okay? Thank you so much, K Square. I got the new microphone that you donated. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, it does sound nice.
Oh my! Just hope everything works because I think
Giggity, giggity, giggity.
is that pipe through too?
Yeah, that sounds better too.
Okay, because now I get the feedback, so I know I played it instead of me hitting the button 25 times to make it play.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, K Squared. It was very, very generous. Peter A., our local correspondent.
Hi, Peter.
After turning onto the street, what if anything happened? Nothing.
Oh my
Yeah,
God, that was so funny. I was dying laughing because I didn't. You missed so much. I love the clip shows.
yeah. That's why can Aussie, unbreaded Aussie, what's her name?
It's Aussie Insider.
Aussie Insider. She even made me look funny. That's the most amazing part. But she clips all the great little things where you just sit there and think, he didn't say that, because we are sitting here for 7.5 hours. So sometimes we don't see it. And then she just brings it up. That's
Yeah.
my favorite part in the morning, is just to see what she clipped overnight.
Yeah, she's been doing good.
Hey, Helena. Aussie Insider is amazing. Yes. And that's the funny part, because all of us covering the case, we have well, I haven't seen, I've seen one saying, well, there might be something coming down the pipeline. Well, and then of course there's Plevin, but the rest of us is kind of agreeing that this case is absolutely crazy, and she captures it real well, showing that everyone is having the same view on it. And again, EDB is normally a kind of a long way away from me. We kind of starts not on the opposite side, but she might be a little more favorable to the state than I am. But in this case, I agree whenever I see one of those clips. Oh, thank you so much. Well, yeah, she had a really good one of me yesterday. I have to really up my my streams now to make it as funny as she can make me. Yeah, when she clips the Clara just laughing, yeah, she should clip Jamie just laughing.
Oh
That
my God.
is still the best laugh on the internet.
Well, I haven't had a good one yet.
Not today, no.
No, in this
Oh,
trial, I'm more like just annoyed
baffled.
and frustrated half the time. Yeah.
I was just discussing, well, not discussing, commenting on this over on Turtle Boys X, because every major trial, every courtroom in the Western world will have to go through everything now. If they get Silbright thrown out as the golden standard for data collecting, everyone, I most cases I touch that has anything to do with a cell phone, we do watch Cellbrite, and we believe Cellbrite when it puts up a GPS coordinate and a phone number and a date and a time, because it's testified to as being accurate. But now all of a sudden it isn't accurate. It's going to be so much fun when every major case has to go over, go to an appeal. Mads, remember when the GPS data in Denmark wasn't correct and they had to figure out all of that? That was fun.
Well, it's not accurate
Yes.
when it doesn't benefit them. That's the only problem, and it's so stupid.
Yeah. That should just be the name of my streams, not the Karen retrial. Just why, Lally? Why?
It's like what we've always been saying, though. It's the it's the Alberts. Let's make sure that we try to defend the McAlberts and make sure everybody knows they didn't do anything.
Yeah, somebody might have died, but could it be the Alberts? No, absolutely not. And Wicked Psych, thank you for being a member for 7 months. Doink drinks Drano and it makes his opinion stupid. I saw him on a show with KDP and I believe it was Turtle Boy's victim, and he was talking, and his mouth was moving, and sounds came through my headphones, and I didn't understand what he was doing. He is really, really stupid.
He is stupid.
Hey, Donna Shepard.
His view of things is so crazy.
Yeah, I think they went. I can't remember. They went like 7 years back or something to check everything that had to do with GPS data, because now I'm getting technical. I believe it was because they said when you had, you triangle GPS signals for your phone.
Yes.
And then they said, well, we can pinpoint kind of near to where the phone had been, which you can't do. You can just say it's somewhere within this cone. So they had to go over thousands of cases again.
Oh my God.
Good morning, Janie, and your favorite Nigerian. Hello, Whiskey. Welcome to the show. That's
Hi,
not a
Whiskey.
Nigerian
I
accent.
missed you. Where have you
Well,
been?
That's a little much.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a member for 3 months.
Oh my Lord.
I listened to an interview with a Leo that thinks she is guilty. State unfortunately we have reasonable doubt built into our jury system. Yeah, well, that's the guys you don't want to have you on a traffic stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, who if anyone was driving the ambulance? Who if anyone did you talk to in the ambulance? Who if any? Who if any?
Oh my
Work,
God.
and more work. You telling me,
Well,
brother?
stop it. Stop it.
Stop what?
Take a vacation. Working so hard.
You're working right now, Jamie.
I know.
And you yell at me if I don't work.
Yeah. We'll get to it.
That was the best line of any trial this year. Yeah, imagine 2 years after the JDAH case, Elaine Braderhoff is no longer the queen of what if anything. Now it's Lally. Yes, he is a queen. It's 10,000 cases they had to reconsider in Denmark because of GPS data.
That's crazy.
Imagine Cellbrite coming in. That's millions of cases. Hey, Mindy. What is going to happen in Murdoch if Cellbrite is proven wrong? Yeah, what's going to happen? Go down to your local courthouse right now. Find a case where someone might get more than 2 months, and I'll bet you there will be Cellbrite connected to that case. It's in everything. I have had it in, do you call it a fencing trial where people are selling stolen goods to prove that photos of stolen goods was taken with that cell phone at that address at that time. I had it in cases where people had a little of Colombian nose candy business going on, so they could prove who they talked to, when they talked to them, where they talked to them. And again, I only do criminal cases where the maximum sentencing is 4 years, and we see it in 75% of the cases. We will see some kind of Cellbrite extractions. You lost your wife. Anyone seen her? Well, I saw her at the dark side. That's the last time I think I saw her. Idaho case will be a mess too. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because they planted him on the scene via his phone. He was in
Yeah,
the
it's
area.
all Cellbrite data, GPS
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, but GPS is Cellbrite too.
Yeah.
If he testifies to Cellbrite's potential being wrong, then I think he will testify to a very narrow story, just wrong about when you search something. Yeah, but he needs the Cellbrite to be wrong with the Apple data as well. So John didn't move after she alleges she dropped him off. That's there's a whole lot of minefields you can get into, and you're gonna have a guy from Cellbrite do a Cellbrite extraction demonstration in the courtroom, which no, because that's like
Oh
me telling you, well,
boy.
I have StreamYards running here. Let me show you how to open a browser. Then I go into the studio. Then I click a button to start the live stream. It doesn't make you understand how to stream because I hardly do it. So this guy will go in and testify and say, yeah, it's totally cromulent that Google searches show up the wrong way. So his business will be burned down by it's no longer a credible source for the police to use? Or will he go in there and say, I can't testify to any specificities in that what we dump is just everything on the phone and we extract it? And then the defense will say, so if a search shows up at 227, was that search made at 227? And if he says anything, then yes, then his company is in a lot of trouble. Mo Raiders, raiding from the lovely Mo. Hey, Mo Raiders.
Hi, Mo Raiders. Is Mo gonna join us?
I sent her a link, but you know, Mo, she has to, I think she has to go fix her kid's
Oh.
checking account.
Get it,
Well,
Mo.
she has to get her one.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Because remember who is going to indict you? It's the prosecutor who you're lying for. I don't know if they can tell you when it's deleted, but if they can dump it, you will get everything on that phone. Because I have seen photos removed from a phone, but still showing up. Because that's why they tell you whenever you dispose of a hard disk, just run a power drill through it a couple of times. Because there are digital ghosts everywhere in your system.
For sure.
I'm sorry, Wallstone, but it's a little bit boring. I've been watching with EDB as a perspective of juror, and so far the state has only proven people were drinking that night. It was snowing. They were a high top table. John is dead. They haven't really. Well, they had one guy testify. They pronounced him dead, but that was on day 18. And according to the pictures, it wasn't snowing when he supposedly was unalived. So I really like those photos from the library, totally debunking all the snow Lally said was at the scene.
Yeah. Because it showed the 5 a.m. and it was like, that's not a lot of snow at all.
Not a power drill. Fire is your friend. Always fire. Well, okay. Yeah, you don't delete it. It's only when it's overwritten multiple times that it's finally gone. That's if they don't find out and if they don't call that band to testify what they played. Because what if they played, I was with my woman, she backed up the truck and hit me. I was standing at the curb with a glass in my hand and she just hit me. Ended up on the lawn and she drove off and I was gone. I was with my woman and she hit me. Subliminally placing that message in the head of Karen Reed, then I don't think there's a reason why she did it.
Like, yeah. She could have been like, just.
Should we go back and watch the opening statement before I make more of a fool of myself? And I haven't even drank yet. Remember, Brandon, one in the end of the show, as always on Fridays.
Good morning. So as Her Honor was telling you, this is one of the two opportunities that I will get to address. The first of which right now, essentially what I'm going to attempt to do, and I know you've heard over the course of the impoundment process, a number of different witnesses that were listed out as far as...
You had 8 people testifying the first 2 days where they placed John O'Keefe anywhere from 5 feet to 20 feet off the side of the road. That's how good the testimony have been.
Oh, it's been great.
Thank you for being a member for 2 months. Carpet dumpster on an army base. It's the best place to dispose of things because that gets incinerated.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yes, let's play a little game. Let's see how many times he mentions John O'Keefe and what happened to him. His opening statements are 38 minutes long. Let's see how much he talks about John O'Keefe. Let's see how much he talks about Alberts and McCabe's and everyone else.
Potential witnesses in this case. So what my intent here is to provide...
No, because he wasn't hit by a car. So I don't. That theory, I don't think that works.
As much of a roadmap as I can through those waters and help you to navigate sort of who these people are and what relation they have to this case. We start with John O'Keefe. John O'Keefe grew up in Braintree. He was 46 years old when he passed. He was the son of John O'Keefe Jr. and Margaret or Peggy O'Keefe. He was a brother to Paul O'Keefe and to his sister, Kristen Furbush. Kristen was married, and so John's brother-in-law was a man named Stephen Furbush. And they had 2 children who were very young in 2013. Now, in 2013, Kristen, unfortunately, tragically passed away, succumbing to cancer in November of 2013. Within months of that, Mr. O'Keefe's brother-in-law and Kristen's husband, Stephen, passed away as well.
Well, because it's Friday and you need a reason to have a little sundowner. Yeah, why are we talking about 2013 and I remember, who was it who sent me the obituary that states it was snowing that day John passed away?
What?
Someone sent me I think it was, maybe it was Sea Swept. Yeah. This is his obituary. In memorandum, with deep regret, blah, 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 passing of active duty police officer John O'Keefe, 16-year veteran. The weekend snowstorm, which barraged parts of Massachusetts with blizzard conditions Saturday, left more than 20 inches of snow in Canton. In nearby Stoughton, the storm dropped more than 30 inches of snow. That's a part of his obituary from the police department in Ohio.
That's ridiculous.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Now, initially, when John O'Keefe's sister passed away, sort of the initial plan for that situation was that John O'Keefe was going to move in with Stephen Furbush and kids and assist as far as raising.
Try to speed him up.
And then when Stephen passed away a few months after his wife, before those plans would be final, John O'Keefe then moved in with his niece and nephew and assumed the parental role and assumed legal guardianship with respect to both of those children. Now, he was assisted in this by a great number of people within the town of Canton where the Furbushes lived and where John moved into, the home with the 2 children there. There were other parents within the neighborhood, other parents within the children's age group. You'll hear from a number of them over the course of this trial, but they include Mrs. Carrie Roberts and Mrs. Jennifer McKay. They helped Mr. O'Keefe out during those initial stages and during the time that he assumed this role. He also brought help from his lawyers. John O'Keefe was a proud member of the Boston Police Department, had been for many years. He had been a patrolman prior to moving in with children and assuming this sort of role. Boston Police Department helped him greatly as far as positioning him to more of a desk role, working in the sex offender unit with more regular hours to sort of assimilate himself to this new life and this new role that he assumes with his children. Initially, John O'Keefe lived in the house with kids. However, in 2018, they moved into a new home, sort of a new home that they could have as their own. That home is located also within the town of Canton, sort of on the Stoughton side of Canton at One Meadows Avenue. John O'Keefe raised these children, assuming guardianship for them for about 8 years. His niece, who was the elder of the two, was about 14 at the time that John O'Keefe died, and his nephew was about 11 years old at the time that John O'Keefe died.
He has that weird. He's reading a prepared statement. He shouldn't say all the time. The is a sound you make when your brain needs to catch up. You see that a lot of politicians will go. Then I clearly want to tell my loving wife that that motel was, of course, a place I was arrested, but the 4 Venezuelan women with me in the hotel room in a state of undress wasn't in any way paid to be there. And even though I was tied to the bed, you see that a lot with politicians.
Yeah.
January 28th, 2022. It was a relatively typical day. It was Friday going into Saturday of January 29th. Sort of typical in the sense of most sort of suburban parents. There were a lot of activities, weekend sports, practices, games, things of that nature that the O'Keefe and Furbush family had to look forward to. One little difference when it came to that particular day of January 28th and the 29th is the weather. So there had been predicted and there was going to be a snow.
To be fair, Lally did an excellent job of proving, without suspicion, beyond the shadow of any doubt, incontrovertibly, that John O'Keefe did indeed croak. Zach, you broke the case.
Oh, happy Friday, Zach.
Well, he's not wrong.
No.
It's only those few little steps between the he did and how he did we're waiting for.
Well, he's just got no passion for any of this. He's just reading what is written down on that stupid piece of paper
Oh, I hate
as fast as he can so he can get off. He can just go sit down.
I hate his little tick, tick,
Yeah.
tick. Yeah, and a sort of. It's my biggest gripe with the defense is her name Little too, just like the other Little who streams?
Is her name? It's, isn't it Elizabeth Little?
Yeah. Well, Miss Little, she has a voice that sounds like she's a 15-year-old schoolgirl who's about to cry. And I know she's a really brilliant lawyer. I know she's very competent. The problem is people hear that voice and think, oh, she's a 15-year-old schoolgirl who's about to cry. As a lawyer, you should be really, really assertive. You should. Do you remember our lovely Carol Rintala with your favorite lawyer in the world?
Oh my God, I love Rosemary. Yes.
No question that when she asked a question, she knew exactly where she was going with it.
Yep.
Lally, you can't tell what he's doing.
Rosemary was my firecracker. Oh.
Yeah, and Janetti, he has what he has that inner fire when we're getting to him. He has that fire in his belly where you think he truly believes himself. Lally is standing here like you can just look at his face. That stupid little face. You can tell he doesn't even believe what he's selling you.
No. He's just going through the motions.
Tracy Fagan, if he didn't have the injuries to his arms, I would say, yeah, he fell down some stairs. Well, I had a good weekend in a good week in Tennessee with Wallstrom and Vegas Rick, so it might have happened. Melanie Little.
Okay.
No, Melanie Little is the
the
lawyer
lawyer.
who screams, and this one is Elizabeth or something.
Elizabeth Little. What I can't wait for is to hear. Oh, I cannot wait to hear until they tell us how the injuries happened, especially the scratches on the arm when he's claiming it was the glass. Please explain it to me. I cannot wait.
Zach, it's Friday. It's not the last day on the planet. Jamie won't be leaving her driveway.
Oh God, no! I have so much stuff to do in the yard. I'm not going here.
Hey, Ralphie.
And I
It's
went and
hard
got
to-
gas yesterday for my lawnmower, so I'm all set.
So you're going to call your dad today and make him mow your lawn?
No, he came over yesterday and cleaned up all the down tree that I had from that storm. But now I have like bundles of like sticks and logs I got to move around. So.
Do you know what bundle of sticks means on internet?
No.
It means the same as a cigarette in British.
Well, what's a cigarette in British?
It's one of those words you can't say.
Okay. Well, then you'll have to type it to me.
It begins with an F.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's
Yep.
hard to tell if Lally lacks passion for this case or just lacks passion in general. Well, we've seen him through the hearings and he's just really bad. So, yeah.
Mhm.
T-Rex, someone missed you.
I missed you. Hey, buddy.
Do I mow the lawn for my daughter? No. She just scratched up my car driving it into a hedge, so we'll have to talk about that before I go there and mow her lawn.
Something significant. A blizzard essentially was coming in overnight that Friday into Saturday, lasting through most of the day on Saturday the 29th. And as a result of that, most of those sort of typical, weekend routine activities that would keep most people, including those within the town, hand busy, have been canceled. And everybody knew what was coming. Everybody knew essentially you weren't going to leave your house all that much for all the day. Now, also on January 28th, Mr. O'Keefe had received some news in respect to his niece. So his niece and her best friend were in 8th grade at the time, going to high school in the fall of 2022. They both applied to a private school called Bishop, and they both found out on the 28th that they had been accepted to that school. So the friend, as well as her father, a gentleman by the name of Michael Camerano, who's both he and his wife, Catherine Camerano, were friendly with John O'Keefe. They had children around the same ages as both John's niece and his nephew. And they had come over to their house on Meadows Ave that evening to celebrate the girls getting into that school. The nephew of John, the 11-year-old, was sleeping over a friend's house that night. He left that home sometime around 7 p.m. or so, got picked up and went to sleep over at his friend's house. John O'Keefe and Michael Camerano then decided to travel out to a local establishment on Washington Street called CF McCarthy's Bar and Restaurant. You're going to hear testimony, and you're going to see surveillance video, and you're going to see receipts and all kinds of things from a variety of different establishments, all sort of located within Camden Center along that strip in Washington Street. Now, they get Mr. O'Keefe and Mr. Camerano leave the girls at home.
Sorry?
Did you say we're going to see a variety of evidence from all these establishments?
Did you say that? Along Washington Street or something? I
Yeah.
think you said.
What did we see? A stupid video and one receipt that really didn't tell us anything.
John O'Keefe and Michael Camerano then decided to travel out to a local establishment on Washington Street called CF McCarthy's Bar and Restaurant. You're going to hear testimony, and you're going to see surveillance video, and you're going to see receipts and all kinds of things from a variety of different establishments, all sort of located within Camden Center along that strip in Washington Street. Now, they get Mr. O'Keefe and Mr. Camerano leave the girls at home. They then go to CF McCarthy's, arriving there sometime between 7:30 and 8 p.m. They eventually cajole another friend of theirs, Mr. Kurt Roberts, to come out to the bar and join them as well. And there's some other people that are located within the bar, including Mr. James Sullivan, who we hear from, who was present at the bar that night as well.
We heard from him.
Eventually,
Yeah.
the defendant Henry joins them at this establishment, CF McCarthy's, sometime just before 9 p.m. Now, John O'Keefe and Karen Reed had met sometime in 2004. They had dated briefly during that time and reconnected sometime around March of 2020, around the time of the COVID-19 sort of pandemic shutdown. They had started dating around that time period, or reconnected during that time period, and the defendant had stayed at the house in Canton several nights a week. She had helped out with the children. In the month or so.
No, we saw pictures from inside the first bar, which was that one where that Sullivan guy was testifying. Yeah, he came in and he just said,
Oh yeah.
I didn't want to be there. I tried to run away. Both him and Koliakakis didn't want to be there. We saw her John getting her one drink at the bar and giving it to them. And that's where we have the picture where she's standing with her hands underneath his shirt and in his pants, looking like she's just about to unalive him. Or something.
Yeah. What? Unless more's coming, which I hope to God they're not going backwards into this stuff, but what evidence have we seen from all these establishments? Ooh, a video where they showed up and she got one drink, and then another video where everybody's standing around and she has that one drink still, and then a receipt.
I still don't understand how Brandy gets her to 5 or 6 drinks, because she says she keeps getting shots and pouring them into a glass. It must have been while I was in Tennessee, so I didn't hear that testimony.
I don't remember any of that testimony.
No.
And I don't think anybody else says they have either.
Yeah, how can an establishment be sort of located on Washington Street?
Yeah.
He speaks English worse than I do, and it's my third language.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse, you're here in the end. That's the most important. I'm not putting that one up, Mass, but I'm agreeing. Somewhere between 4 and 45 feet of snow. Exactly.
Yep.
We haven't seen James Sullivan yet, I don't think. One of the others called him Sully.
Was he at the bar with them?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Well, then why are we waiting? Why didn't he come in with that group of people that they shoveled? Oh my God.
Maybe he had a big case of the I don't want to talk to Lilies.
Lily, don't start going backwards. We're done with this stupid bar situation. You called everybody from the bar already. Like, don't go back.
I still love glasses are normally heavier in the bottom. That was such a great comment.
So stupid.
No, I don't remember shots being poured in her glass. I don't remember testifying.
I don't remember anything.
But again,
about that.
it's been 18 days. I've been gone for 7 of those. So he was at CF McCarthy sitting at the bar. Yeah, he was the guy sitting in the chair. She talked to him at some point, but didn't he get in there?
Yeah, but what good is he? What is the point? You don't need all them people to say what.
Well, as long as they didn't really establish how much she drank. Maybe he's coming back and say, well, I saw her pour a bottle of Grey Goose into that glass.
Well, that's the whole thing. Proctor's the one. Proctor's the one that said they have video evidence of her taking all those shots and stuff. So they need Proctor.
Yeah, with timestamps.
Yeah, with timestamps to establish all that.
What's my second language? German. Yeah, but again, they didn't ask. They have asked everyone else about the amount of drinks she had, and no one really said anything. So maybe he's the one who can establish how drunk she were.
So leading up to Mr. O'Keefe's death, the relationship soured. You will see text messages between Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed to that effect. You will hear testimony from the children, from John's niece and nephew, in regard to things they observed within that relationship. And you'll hear testimony from other individuals as far as their observations or things that they heard.
The relationship sucked. The only kind of thing we have where the relationship sucked was Higgins. Not even the kids. They said, yeah, they argued. But again, in a way, most couples argue, according to what we heard from the kids' testimony.
Yep.
So he hasn't proven that the relationship sucked. She was flirtatious with another guy who couldn't stand being ghosted.
Turning to January 29th, 2022. Just after 6 a.m., the Canton Police Department receives a 911 call from a woman reporting a male party, subsequently identified as John O'Keefe, found in the snow outside residence at the 34 Fairview Road. At the time, as I mentioned, the blizzards that had been predicted was occurring, heavy snow, temperatures in the teens, wind bustling around. Officer Stephen Saraf and Officer Stephen Laney of the Canton Police were dispatched along with Canton Fire and EMS, and you'll hear from them in regard to their response and what they observed on scene. In particular, with Officer Saraffield have as an exhibit, anticipates a cruiser camera video from his cruiser detailing or memorializing.
No, we've spoken German for a very, very long time. We had a king saying, "You speak German to your dog." Those texts were more than merely flirtatious. Were they? Yeah, she offered him to come over, and he said, "Yeah, you don't want me to leave if I do." She said, "Well, I gave you a kiss. It was just a peck," and he said, "Weak sauce." And then he kept writing her, and she didn't really answer. I would love to have them on paper, actually, to try and
Yeah.
write it, and I would love to have them with timestamps, so we can see how. Because yes, she was a little oncoming in the beginning, but was it super damning? I don't think so.
Nope.
So they argued like you and Jamie in that cute couple way. Jamie and I don't argue. I never talk to Jamie because she'll pull the switch on me if I ever say anything. It'll just be yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, of course, ma'am.
Exactly. Baker knows.
Yeah. Why didn't he ask the bartender if the glass come from the bar? That's the question I had when we saw it. Because we know they claim she carried it in there. That could mean it's the one glass she had all evening.
Exactly.
So yeah. Unmarried couples break up. They don't typically run each other down in the snow. Again, if we use Arkham's razor, is it reasonable to believe that this lady would a lady of means, a lady who has her own house, a lady who don't have a problem picking up a new beau, would go out and unalive her boyfriend because a month earlier he hugged a 25-year-old in Aruba? Again, the amount of suspension of clear, rational thought you have to get to that point, especially when we know from the Koliakakis, which I think are the best witnesses in the entire case so far, the most honest witnesses.
Yeah.
They
I like
were
that.
so loving that night that his wife told him, "You should do more like them." To me, that doesn't. Yeah, they had been through a rough patch because she was afraid John was sleeping around, and he might have been. He might be a player. We don't know. At least he was seen hugging a very young girl when he was very drunk. Very young. She was 20 years younger than him.
But even in the text messages, she just seemed whatever about it. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, it is what it is, you know?
Yeah, in the beginning, she was a little hot and heavy, and then it just turned into, you can text me. I could show you the DMs I have with certain women, and they're,
No, but I mean, when she talked about the situation
yeah.
with the Aruba situation, she was just kind of like, he doesn't, I wouldn't want to know, and he doesn't need to know, kind of thing. She was just very like whatever about it.
No, she didn't offer him to come over for tea. No, I didn't say that. Clearly, but she went to his apartment and nothing happened. So again, you have that working against him. And I said in the beginning, yes, she was coming on to him, but nothing happened. We know that from the same text messages that I think she liked to flirt. When I saw that, and we all met those type of girls. Promise, promise, promise. Oh, I've never done this before. Promise,
Mhm.
promise, promise. Oh, next time. The text showed he has no game. Yeah, the text showed he got ghosted harder than I ever get. So yeah, I
I
I
mean,
I said it in my recap. I think they look bad, but when you put them in there with the testimony he then gave after reading them, I kind of think, in my mind, it took away from how damning it was. But that's just my take on it.
yeah. And I think any text messages that you pull from anybody's phone, you could make it look however
Yeah.
you wanted it to look.
I don't even know if I don't text much, but well, payment of that, you have to pay this. You can pull up my massage therapist. Hey, I'm a little bit in doubt. Do we have a appointment today? Yeah, I have you down at 10. Well, sorry, I have to go. I've been called to court. Thumbs up from her. Can we find a new time so I can cancel that again? We can, but I can't do it until the 5th. Well, I have to wait that long so I can let you down twice. Sadly, that's the only way to do it. I'll write you later. Thank you so much. Having that read in a courtroom after she's found dead after she hit one of my deep lying tissue problems. That could be a problem. Karen argued with John and he was drinking too much. Karen wanted John to be different. You have to accept people for who they are. The relationship became toxic. Well, I don't think the relationship was toxic on the day with any evidence we have, because Carol, you have you have been around the internet now for a year, just like the rest of us. I've read every little detail in this case. But in reality, how do you convict someone? You do it with evidence provided in court. And the evidence provided in court so far is Karen was angry at him a month before, and Karen had a little bit of a loving husband that night.
And if you really look at like what happened too, like yeah, she yelled at him, but she wasn't like going after this woman by any means. And then the next day she offered to pay for her room to like apologize for what happened, like, or to kind of just make amends for what happened. Like, people who, I don't know, to me that's like, it just
Review
means like
Court
it is
TV's
what it
last
is.
pre-trial hearing. Milton Mass State Police barracks body cam. Karen Reed's arrest. Oh, the time where she said, "Are you kidding me?" Yeah, I saw them smash my tail light, which was clearly ironic. You have to to just read the text of it if you couldn't hear the irony in her voice. Just like the
Yeah,
people who said she admitted it on NBC when she said, "I hit him."
yeah, but it was a question,
Yeah.
not a statement.
If a woman like Karen texts me to come over and tell me I can't handle her, my next text will be, "I'm here." Exactly. And again, was she flirting? Yeah, no denying
Yeah,
that. Have she
yeah.
kissed him? Probably, maybe. I don't know. Again, what happened on the 28th of January 2022? People saw them being so loving that another man got in trouble with his wife because he didn't show enough PDA.
Hmm. For sure. And Higgins was flirting back, and he was claiming that John was his friend, so he wasn't in the right in any of that either. They both were just doing something they shouldn't have done. But I mean, it is what it is.
Carol, I have to disagree so much with you, but again, You're new here. Welcome, welcome. Carol knew their relationship was ending. She was too jealous. Karen wanted to hook up with Higgins. 1. Karen knew their relationship was ending. Again, in court, the only proof of their relationship ending so far is Mr. Kolyakakis got in trouble with his wife because he was not as loving to Karen as John was. That's point number 1. Whatever happened the 27th, the 26th, the 25th, yeah, they might have had a rough relationship now and then. It was just after COVID. They had 2 young kids. None of them had the parentage of those kids. It could have been a little rough. But on the night in question, Karen and John was a very affectionate couple. That's according to all testimony in the 18 days of trial. Remember, what you know is not what the jury knows. What you believe is not what the jury believes. What you have to look on is what's presented in court. All the evidence presented in court is she flirted with Higgins and didn't reach out to him. The flirty text was in the middle of January. It wasn't in the end of January. The incident in Aruba was a month before. On the day, everyone who have testified about anything with John and Karen was they were a very affectionate couple towards each other. 2, she was too jealous. Too jealous of who? I know there's some talk about, well, they drove by a house and I pointed out, hey, that's John's ex-girlfriend's house. And she yelled and screamed and threw everything around. Who mentioned that that was John's ex-girlfriend's house?
Jen McCabe,
Who is a very trustworthy witness in this
who is,
case.
is,
And
um,
Karen wanted to hook up with Higgins. Why didn't she do it? She gave him a peck on the cheek. She visited his apartment and didn't give him anything. And she ghosted him for the last 2 weeks before John passed away. She's a really, really bad, I want to hook up with you person if she couldn't land that testosterone-filled gnome. I know he likes to grab ass with Bri, but I think a guy like him, especially, then you have to go. Now you can read Karen's mind from all the other stuff. How do you think about the 3 women who testified that the woman who testified that Brian Higgins was dating 5 women at a time, that he was a real asshole? Should we bring that into court too, saying you can't really trust Brian Higgins because he's a serial, not fornicator, because he's not married to any of them, but he had 5 girlfriends at a time. And his biggest concern when losing a girlfriend was she left his house and a gun was unlocked. It wasn't the girlfriend. If we're going to do all of these mind games, let's take it the entire way through. But the funny thing, all you people who just want to, oh, Karen's so guilty, you only look at that small little part who's Karen Reed. The rest, not so much.
well, we
Sorry.
haven't seen anything in court yet. And some of the stuff that is being said, like, what evidence do we have that she had 9 drinks?
Yeah.
What evidence have they showed? And then also, the kids' testimony. The kids never said anything about her being jealous. Plus, can we really trust what children know about an adult relationship or what they understand of it to be?
I didn't like that she wasn't fond of the kids. No, I get that sentiment. Because is that the noise from you or from my end?
I don't know.
Because that sounds really bad in a court of law. But again, was she saying that to a girlfriend? Said, "Oh, I wish we could travel more. I'm used to being. I don't have kids. I'm used to being able to go to Aruba whenever I want to. I like to go to Cancun. And we have these kids, and it really takes up too much of our time." Yes. Does it sound good? Absolutely not. Do I like she said it? No. Again, in a court of law, sounds bad. But is it something? Have any of you out there a family where you had pre-existing kids before what do you call it? Where you put two families together after divorces.
Stepkids,
Yeah.
stepchildren. Yeah.
Any of you have stepkids and you feel sometimes that those redheaded stepchildren ruins everything when you really wanted to have a good date night? Maybe
Well,
you're like me. You got your kids young, and then when your kids are kind of flown from the nest, you find that sweet old baker in Denmark, and you say, oh my,
mhm.
he could butter my buns. And he says, yeah, but I come with a 5 and a 7-year-old. And you say, yeah, I used to have kids. And then you figure out 5 and 7-year-olds are really annoying. I remember having 5 and 7-year-olds.
Well, I mean, there's a lot to it, like couples actually need couple time also, and then think of the different parenting styles. Like, obviously Karen is not a mom, so she's coming into the situation. She's just spoiling the kids, doing nice
Sorry, Jamie,
things.
sorry.
What?
The relationship became toxic. Where do you know what the children testified to in court? Because what the kids said, yeah, they were yelling at each other. Is that a toxic relationship? We are 110 people here. Have any of you ever said to your wife or your husband, get the F out of here? You're such an a-hole. I shouldn't have chosen you. You're wrong. You ruin everything. I will be way better without you. I did. I got a divorce. But I've done that more than once in my relationship. Jamie, have you ever had an argument where you told your boyfriend, get the F out of here, and you still saw him the next day?
Yeah, I'm being honest. Been there, done that.
Everyone in a relationship that lasted more than 3 weeks, because in the first 3 weeks, it's all fun on the washing machine. But at some point, everyone has told their significant other, get the F out of here. You're ruining everything. I hate you. You ruined my life. I used to have a 32-inch waist before I met you.
Okay. I mean, there's been plenty, I may have not said those exact words, but you've had fights with people. Don't act like you haven't had fights with people. And then you're like, oh, that was dumb.
Yeah, that's not toxic. I'm a stepmom with no bio kids. Nothing I've heard reported is abnormal in that circumstance. No, because again, especially in this case, the real parents aren't there. But you can also, I used to date a girl who had a kid, and I have 2 kids. Her kid was really fond of hitting my kid, and I said, "Are you gonna put a stop to that?" And she said, "It's just kids; they have to figure it out themselves." I said, "No, you're a parent. You have to set borders for what your kids are allowed to do." No, I'll figure it out. Then my girl came running, crying because she punched her again, and I said, should I talk to him? No, because you don't have to be that strict. And I said to the kids, put your shoes on. And we left the house, and I broke up with her because I was protecting my kids. That's, I think, if John had that big of a problem with the parenting styles being different, he would have left her too. And there's no evidence. Yes, he went to a room for half an hour because he was angry. I've done that. I went to, back before you had internet at your house, because I'm 27 years old. I went to an internet cafe, played Sims for an hour, and went back home when things would stop flying. It's not that
Yeah.
unusual. That's not a toxic relationship.
Mhm.
It
Sometimes
happens.
I like to take a walk if, things are getting
Yeah.
a little heated. And then you're fine. Well, I think that was a lot of it too. Think of coming into a situation and having different. Karen's not a parent. He's really not a parent, but he's trying to parent, and they have different views of how things are. People are going to argue about that,
Yeah.
and that's normal. It's nothing crazy.
Exactly. Before my first marriage, I had an 8-pack. Now I have a beer keg. Yes, that's another thing. There could be some girl on girl bad chemistry. And again, we know John was mad at Karen for being too good to the kids. Come on
Yeah.
now.
He was arguing because he didn't want her to get him Dunkin' Donuts in the morning and not to buy them, spoil them rotten, so they think that that's the lifestyle that they get to have. those are things that are like, come on, people.
Yeah. And as Walsom says, all those women testified how particular John was. You don't think he'd drop her if that was a real problem with the kids? Of course he would.
Well, yeah, I mean, think of what we've heard about John too. Like, he didn't seem like the easiest person to live with sometimes. He seemed a little OCD, wanting
Yeah.
things his way in certain places, no snow in the house. If you got snow in his garage, they even testified to that. Like, he'd be
Yeah.
upset.
Yeah, and again, he had a contentious relationship with Karen because they might have been arguing. So how about the McCabe's? Were they in a death feud because of those pictures? Oh no, that's another thing. That was just fun. That happens all the time. I love the double standards. Sorry.
Sort of his response in the darkness, in the blizzard-type conditions, as he's driving from the Canton Police Station, where he was located when he received the call, to 34 Fairview Road. When they arrive there, they observe three females, sort of off to the left side of the property. And when I say the left side of the property, I mean if you're standing out in the street facing 34 Fairview Road, off to the left side of the property, there's a flagpole, there's a fire hydrant, there's some bushes. That is where Mr. O'Keefe is located. To the right side of the property is sort of the driveway and the mailbox, and other things that you'll become familiar with through photographic evidence and other means, of course, of this trial. The three females that the officers observed there were then identified as the defendant, Karen Reed, Mrs. Jennifer McCabe, who had received a phone call earlier in the morning from the defendant, as well as Mrs. Carrie Roberts, who had also received a phone call early that morning from the defendant. The several firefighters from the Canton Fire Department you'll hear from in regard to their observations of injuries, abrasions, and lacerations to the right arm of Mr. O'Keefe. You'll hear their testimony in regard to swelling of his eyes and other injuries that he observed. They observed redness from the cold that he had been lying out in for some time. You'll hear the testimony from the firefighters, Timothy Nuttall, Anthony Flamati, Matthew Kelly, Francis Walsh, Kitty McLaughlin, and Greg Woodruff. And at least from three of those firefighters, you'll hear testimony anticipates detailing statements that the defendant made to them when they had asked about the origination of some of those injuries. The defendant stated repeatedly, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Mr. O'Keefe was then taken from the front lawn onto what they call a scoop stretcher. As he's doing that, I anticipate you'll hear Ms. Roberts' testimony that despite the 6 inches of snow approximately that was on top of Mr. O'Keefe's body and the snow throughout the roadway, front yard, everywhere around where he was, there was grass underneath Mr. O'Keefe, where his cell phone was located underneath his body as he lay on that front lawn. He was then transported by firefighters Kelly, Flamati, and Nuttall, as well as the ambulance being driven by firefighter McLaughlin to the Good Samaritan Medical Center. Once there were some observations, and you'll hear testimony from Dr. Justin Rice from that facility as far as observations consistent with what I anticipate you'll hear from those firefighters. But then there is a certain warming procedure that they go through trying to bring his body temperature up. Because when Mr. O'Keefe arrives at the Good Samaritan Medical Center, his body temperature is 80. And after those resuscitative efforts prove unsuccessful, Mr. O'Keefe is eventually pronounced by Dr. Rice at approximately 7:50 in the morning. Shortly after that, when the defendant is then being driven away from the scene by Ms. Roberts, who is now going to go pick up Mr. and Mrs. O'Keefe, Jonathan's parents in Braintree, and then bring them to the Samaritan Medical Center in Brockton, the defendant makes some statements of self-harm. As a result of that, she's then transported to the Good Samaritan Medical Center as well by two firefighters named Daniel Whitley and Jason Becker. And amongst the statements that they gained from the defendant as they're having a conversation with her in regard to that, in regard to her treatment and diagnosis, she indicates that the last time that she saw Mr. O'Keefe, they had gotten into an argument before he had gotten out of the car in front of Fairview Road. Now, you'll also hear testimony from some of the other first responding officers from the Canton Police Department, including Lieutenant Paul Gallagher, Sergeant Sean Good, and Sergeant Michael Lent, in regard to their initial response, their observations, people that they spoke to, where they went, and their.
So, Carol, every relationship decision you make is run by the kids because if you ever get angry at your husband, you say, oh, by the way, kids, family gathering, mom and dad is having an issue. We won't raise our voices. We'll discuss it, and you can weigh in on this because it's very important that you, at the age of 12 and 10, have a say in this. Or do you say, go to your rooms, mom and dad is having an argument? Or do you and your husband go between in a closed room and yell at each other? Have you? Well, I don't. Well, I'm single. That's why I don't know how women work.
ability to recover within these blizzard conditions that are still ongoing, certain
Thank you,
pieces of evidence that they located in around the area where Mr. O'Keefe's body was found. You'll also hear from Lieutenant Charles Ray of the Canton Police Department, who was tasked with, at this point in time, the Canton Police were unaware that the nephew was over at sleepover. They were unaware that Mr. Camerano had come over to and pick up the niece and bring her back to his house, as she was left unattended when the defendant left to go looking for Mr. O'Keefe. So unaware of that, they go do a well-being check at approximately 8:22 in the morning. And they also have cruiser camera video attached to their cruiser. You'll see that video. And when they pull into the driveway, that was approximately 8:22.
Did you just see the dial tone?
I saw that one and then Lefty too. Made me laugh. Because it's so true.
I don't.
Hi,
My channel.
hi, Lefty.
My channel 3 is a sports channel.
The morning they pull in directly behind, where eventually you'll hear Mr. McCabe left the defendant's vehicle after driving in from her house, Meadows Ave, in search of Mr. O'Keefe. And you'll have that footage, and you'll be able to see the back of the defendant's vehicle, specifically the right rear taillight of that. Now, you'll also hear testimony, as I mentioned, from the Cameranos.
Yeah, and what did we see on that footage, Jamie?
Okay, wait, what do you say? Sorry, I was laughing to myself still.
He said that you'll be able to see it when they moved into the driveway. We saw that video. That was the guy doing the welfare checks on the kids. What did we see in that video?
Nothing. You saw snow.
Yeah, and something that could be, and who tried to elicit a testimony that someone saw a cracked tail light when he rewatched the tape.
He tried to get that in there, and then they tried to pull it with Jen McCabe too. Like, come on, people. No one saw anything.
Karen was not a step-parent. She was John's girlfriend. No authority. Well, they've been together for 3 years, so she probably had some authority. But still.
I mean, he gave her enough to, pick the kids up and drive them around and stuff like that. But who knows? We don't really know. That's the whole thing. All these people that are talking about the situation weren't there. They were not in part of the relationship. They had no idea.
Why did John take his mother to court to fight for custody? I didn't know that. I've heard some
I heard
rumors
that somewhere too.
Yeah, I heard some rumors about the trust fund might have been depleted after, but I don't know anything.
Yeah.
How can Jamie know what Channel 3 was, her being so young? I'll pass on anything Court TV. Court TV is great for getting the signal from them. Just don't listen to them because they are... And now I'm going to say something that's really stupid because I'm a YouTuber. I'm a grifter. I just showed you that I got $5 from Tracy Fagan as a thank you to Tracy Fagan. But Court TV is really doing this for... Go look up Court TV's headlines and descriptions of cases.
They have an agenda. That's what
they have a big agenda, always sell everything with as much blood as possible. Because Court TV isn't, just like the rest of us, isn't stupid. We want people to come in here, watch our show, because I get almost, on a good day. What do I get per 10,000 views? I can get as close to $5 or $6 for 1,000 views. So of course, I want people to watch my show. That's what all YouTubers want, and that's what all television stations want. But Court TV do all the clickbaity things. They want all the drama. I'm an idiot for not doing more drama.
Yeah.
From Mr. Roberts, from Mr. So. Also, they were all present with the defendant and Mr. O'Keefe at C.F. McCarthy's. You'll hear testimony from a number of other individuals who were at the Waterfall. The Waterfall is a bar located across the street, essentially, from C.F. McCarthy's.
Yes, Lieutenant Gallagher testified that they broke it when they tried to remove it. But they said that it was broken beforehand. But you can see clearly where they had the jack in. When you saw those pictures from the walkthrough, you could see that they... And again, to remove a tail light, I think you have to remove 4 screws. They couldn't figure that out, so they pried it out of the car. Because that's how you do it.
No, but they showed that video and that's Lally's going, see, look it's broken,
Yeah.
busted out completely.
Winnie Politeness had a rant with his sidekicks about this last night. He firmly team Crayon. Yeah, and again,
good.
I know Winnie is doing good, but the other one who's there, she's absolutely horrendous. Or maybe that's on the other channel, but I can't remember if it's on Crim or Court TV. But one of them is
She's been on
misstating
Court TV,
is misstating facts more than I do. And
Oh
again,
yeah, Coffin Doofer, whatever.
not
it
Caffey
is.
Daffy, but the other
Oh.
Anger.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hello, Rolling Stones.
Hi, Rolling Stone.
On Washington Street in Canton Center, and somewhere that Mr. O'Keefe and the
Yes,
defendant
Julie.
went after
Julie.
leaving CFO parties at approximately
Yes.
11 p.m. Now, from that establishment, you'll hear from Rebecca Traers, who was working as a bartender at the Waterfall that evening. You'll hear from a couple named Nicholas and Karina Kolakaitis, who were friends of friends, who had known Mr. O'Keefe through their daughter around the same age as.
We heard from the bartender, and she said nothing.
Mrs. Kolakaitis had some conversation with the defendant that evening, as well as herself and Mrs. McCabe at the Waterfall. She left around the same time as they did. She parked on Washington Street around the same area as Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed did, specifically in Ms. Reed's car. And she observed Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant walking toward the defendant's vehicle, and specifically the defendant walking towards the driver's side of it. Now,
yes, and you also heard her testify she wasn't drunk.
Yeah.
And the bartender said, "I don't know. I didn't know anything."
All the bartender came in and said was, "Yeah, like, here's a receipt, and I kind of know who these people are."
Yeah, Lally is on 1.25. I need him at least 1.25 if I have to survive this.
We'll hear testimony from a Christopher and Julie Albert, who were people who were at one point neighbors of Mr. O'Keefe. Knew him well from being neighbors of him. Christopher Albert owns a pizza shop, also located within that Cannon Center area. Mr. O'Keefe, earlier in the day of the 28th, had been into that pizza shop along with his nephew to get his nephew a slice. Christopher Albert and Mr. O'Keefe had some conversation regarding what they were doing that night, and it's Christopher Albert who actually texts Mr. O'Keefe and indicates that they're over at the Waterfall and that he should come over shortly before Mr.
The guy who just got his phone number that day and said, "Come over here or I'll F up your lawn again."
Yeah.
Oh, that's another thing.
Such a good guy.
And the defendant make their way from CF McCarthy's home. Now, Christopher Albert.
Thank you, Phoenix, for the little doggo super sticker.
Left directly from the Waterfall and went home. He
Thank
was
you.
sort of walking distance away from it. His wife, Julie Albert, had left earlier in the evening. There was a band playing at the Waterfall that night. Mrs. Julie Albert started to get a migraine, and she left before most of the group. Included within that group, and sort of how they came to the Waterfall, the Albert family in particular, Julie Albert went there along with her sister-in-law, Nicole Albert, as well as her niece, Caitlin Albert, her niece's boyfriend, Mr. Tristan Morris, and they had had dinner at the Waterfall earlier in that evening. Now, Nicole Albert lives at 34 Fairview Road. She has a husband named Brian Albert, who's also a Boston police officer. Brian Albert had gone with a friend of his, who's also in law enforcement, a man named Brian Higgins, and they had gone separately, but had come home together from a funeral for a fallen police officer in New York City. They came home early to sort of beat the weather, and eventually they meet up with Brian Albert's family at the Waterfall. Now, Tristan Morris, who was Caitlin Albert's boyfriend, had left the Waterfall at some point in the evening. He then returns later to the residence on Fairview Road and picks up Caitlin Albert and brings her home. All of this is in relation to Brian Albert and Nicole Albert's son, Brian Albert Jr.
Carol, did you?
I knew you were going to say that. That's not what was said on the camera. And it also wasn't said in a serious way either.
Jamie, am I smelling burnt toast?
No, it's okay. Like, she just has an opinion.
That metal taste in the back of my mouth, is that normal? She clearly stated, "Are you effing kidding me? Oh, so you're in on this?" Yeah, I saw them crack the tail light with his head.
Yeah, it was Colin and Brian, by the way.
Yeah, and if you ever saw that and thought, "Oh, that's testimony. She said that because she meant it," then you have to go rewatch it.
Mhm.
You can rewatch this stream after you go back to that, and then just listen to it. Listen to it 5 times, and then tell me, because words matter, inflections matter, tone of voice matters.
Yeah.
And tell me, oh yeah, she's clearly saying that. Just as you will probably tell me in the Dateline interview, she testified she hit him when she said, I hit him, because that's how word works. Whatever comes out of your mouth, no matter how you say it, is the truth.
Mhm.
This is like me saying, that's an intelligent statement.
Whose birthday was coming up the following day, the day of the snowstorm on the 29th. So he had been back at the house at 34
No, Carol, you didn't make it up, but you made up what she was meaning by the words. Jesus, go back and listen to it. I get so annoyed with all these trolls, Jamie. I should really stop doing these streams.
Fairview while his family was out at the waterfall. He had a number of friends that had come over that evening to celebrate his birthday with him. Now, among them,
Yeah, and by the way, Lally totally misstated what she said in that video, but you bought it because Karen Reed clearly did it.
those friends was 2 individuals named Sarah Levinson and Julie Nagel, and they were at the residence at 34 Fairview for a good portion. Now, those individuals from the waterfall that leave and then come to 34 Fairview, they do so sometime shortly after midnight. Shortly after midnight is when it starts to snow. Flurries are starting to come down. Snow is starting to stick to some degree to the road, to the front lawn, to grassy areas around town. Now, from that group, the group that goes back is obviously Brian Albert and Nicole Albert, as they live there. Caitlin Albert, because it's her parents and her boyfriend picking her up, as well as Jennifer McCabe, who is Nicole Albert's sister, and her husband, Matthew. They go back to that, and there's an open invitation to essentially anybody that's there. John O'Keefe takes them up on that. There are certain text messages and phone conversations between John O'Keefe and Jennifer McCabe as to where this house is located, as he's never been there before. And then he and the defendant drive in the defendant's vehicle to 34 Fairview. And once there are several witnesses from within the home that observe the vehicle parked in. So I mentioned earlier there were 2 females that were with Brian Albert Jr. at the house, one of them being Julie Nagel. At some point, she had called her brother, Mr. Ryan, for a ride home. He then gets a ride from his friends, Ricky Antonio, as well as his Mr. Nagel's girlfriend, Heather Maxson, that's riding in the back of Mr. Antonio's pickup truck. I say that because they arrive at Fairview Road around the same time as the defendant. The defendant is coming in from one direction, the pickup truck with the Nagel brother is coming into another direction. The pickup truck that the Nagel brother is riding in flashes its lights, signaling the defendant to go. She goes first, they follow him behind, and lo and behold, they end up at the same house. They park the pickup truck somewhere in that right side of the property, facing it from the street in the area of the driveway, and the defendant in her black Lexus SUV parks a little bit further up. Different people from within the pickup and different people from within the house observe that Lexus SUV in one location, pull up a little bit further, and then pull up a little bit further until it's in the area of that fire hydrant, of that flagpole, where Mr. O'Keefe is located the following morning. Now, from their position, I anticipate the testimony that you're going to hear is that Heather Maxson from that pickup truck observes a male passenger and a female operator when the pickup truck operator flashes those lights at the vehicles are facing each other before they pull down the Fairview. What you'll hear also, I anticipate, from all 3 of those individuals in the pickup and Julie Nagel, who comes out to the pickup to talk to the brother.
Wait, what? What?
And you were indicted by grand jury.
Okay, you're aware of being beaten up by Brian Albert. I mean, we're all in on the same joke, right? My tail light is cracked and John is pulverized.
Karen.
What? You're muted.
Well, that's because I was yelling in the background. That's what she said. We're in on the same joke, right? That my tail light was cracked and he was pulverized. She admitted. No, she didn't. She said...
It's because they were upping her charges. So I'd be a little irritated too.
Yeah.
Is that no one ever exits that vehicle. There are no footprints around that vehicle. There's no damage that they observed to that vehicle at that time. Again, it's just started to snow. Things aren't sticking really too much at this point. Julie Nagel has a conversation with her brother, decides that she's going to stay at the house.
Yeah, did he expect all of the three testifying there was no Jeep with a snow plow in front of them? Because that's a little problem. The magical Jeep that wasn't there in any other testimony only appeared in the case. How? And actually, it's really stupid because Brian Higgins would have, the second he turned on his light, with the small amount of snow we now know was there, had seen a big 217-pound, 6'2" guy lying on the front lawn. Or he was so effing drunk that he couldn't look out of his eyes. That's why it took him an hour to go from Fairview to the police station and move his administrative work.
Longer arrangements for
But also, he said he parked there, but nobody else can confirm that there was a Jeep parked there, which is,
Of course, there's.
but why?
Jen McCabe testified there was a Jeep out there.
She said, I thought her whole thing was she never saw it.
No, she said she
never
saw
saw
a Jeep at the mailbox. All of them changed their testimony again on the stand. The waterfall receipt had 1 Tito's vodka drink. The bartender did not overserve Karen. No, and that's why I don't get Brandy Churchwell having her with 5 or 6 drinks.
Yeah, no one's testified to that at all.
Yeah.
Pickup truck leaves from that point. As they pass by, they observe a female operator matching what I submit as the description of the defendant. From all of those people within that house that evening, none of them at any point in time observed John O'Keefe come into the house. They see the vehicle out front, they see the vehicle pull away, and they just assume that they left and that no one was coming.
The state police officer will testify, yes, I was at the desk. Yes, I had my body cam on. Yes, she made those statements you can hear on the tape. Did she say what Lally said? No. I love all y'all, but I love people who make my blood pressure go to 200 the most because
Also,
it's invigorating.
yeah, I hope that Proctor needs to get on the stand because he's going to be a hot mess, and any other officer dealing with this case is going to be a hot mess. So yeah, bring him in. I can't wait.
Yeah. The other drinks has to be from C.F. McCarthy's, but I've seen no evidence of that yet. Well, we didn't have a bartender from C.F. McCarthy's, and we didn't have any receipts from C.F. McCarthy's. We only had it from the last place, and that's we have video from C.F. McCarthy's, and that's what we were told. We would have video with timestamp showing her downing, I believe, 10 drinks.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't gotten
What,
to it
like
yet.
9 shots? Yeah.
Yeah, 9 shots, yeah. Because she bought a round of someone bought a round of Fireball. They claimed it was her drinking it all by herself. And again, because we have to believe every witness, Carol taught me that, she wasn't drunk. Because every witness has testified she wasn't drunk.
He sure did.
Testimony from other individuals who were at the house that night, including Colin Albert, who was Julie and Christopher Albert's son. He's also the cousin of Brian Albert Jr., who was having people over for his birthday. He's leaving the house around the time that the initial people coming back from the waterfall, which includes the homeowners and Mr. Higgins, are sort of coming into the house. At that point, Colin Albert is leaving. He's getting picked up by a young lady named Alice McCabe, who is Jennifer and Matthew McCabe's
I don't like
who's also friends with Colin Albert and also cousins of Brian Albert Jr., who's within the home celebrating his birthday. As I mentioned, you'll hear testimony from Matthew McCabe and from Jennifer in regard to their observations that particular evening, both at the waterfall as well as at the residence on Fairview Road. And then you'll hear testimony in regard to a phone call. A phone call that Jennifer McCabe receives from John O'Keefe's niece at approximately 4:53 in the morning. She answers that phone call, speaks to the niece briefly, and the niece hands the phone over to the defendant. Now, you'll hear testimony from the niece as well, that about 4:30 in the morning or so, the defendant came into her room in a frantic state, saying that Mr. O'Keefe had not come home the night before. So initially, when the defendant is talking to Ms. McCabe, she indicates to Ms. McCabe that the last time she saw Mr. O'Keefe was at the waterfall. Eventually, as Ms. McCabe is waking up, she reminds the defendant that she not only saw them leave the waterfall around the same time as herself, but also saw the vehicle, the defendant's vehicle, outside of the home on Fairview Road. Eventually, the defendant, while driving around,
We saw it played in court. Lally testified. She states that my tail light was cracked when they smashed John O'Keefe's head into it. Then we saw the tape where she clearly, sarcastically said, "We're talking about the same joke, right? That my tail light was smashed and John was, I can't remember what the words were,
Pulverized.
pulverized." Yes. Carol, please go back and watch it. Go back and watch the last 18 days of the trial. And then I will still be here. I'll be here again tomorrow, Saturday, 9 a.m. if I'm home from
What?
VA. And I'll probably be here Monday when we go back to court. And then you come back and you tell me, hey, buddy, the evidence is there. Remember, Lally will now testify. No, not testify because it's opening statements. He will tell us John O'Keefe was never hit in the head with the car.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
So that's one thing. Two, that state trooper will only testify. She said it to him. And then Yannetti will ask, that was in a clearly sarcastic voice. Won't you agree? And he will say, I don't know. Unless you have her in a room saying, I hit him with my car. I smashed him with my tail light. That little bit from the body cam, it was the body cam. No matter which version it was, it's the same bit that was played in the courtroom where Lally lied about what was stated in the courtroom, in the body cam. Unless you find the magical other version of this, which says what Lally said it said, then this is what you have. And if this is what you have, then you have zero, nada, niet, nothing. Where she said what you claim she said. I love you, anti-Karen Reed people. You are almost as funny as Doink. At least Doink smokes a lot of weed to make him that stupid. You're not stupid. You're just really backing on something. Normally, I always say defendants don't have an abracadabra in court. That's why when everyone else was saying, oh, the FBI is going to stop this case. No, they're not. This will clearly never go to court. Of course it will. Oh, all of these are committing perjury. Yes, they are. None of them will be charged with it because Lally would be the one charging it. All of you Karen Reed people are the same. She did it. Why? Well, because she said it in a Dateline interview. No, she didn't. Well, she testified on body cam that his head was smashed into the tail light. Absolutely not. Well, they were having a bad relationship. According to whom? Well, she's a B word because she's a rich girl who wasn't from Canton, and Jen McCabe is the hottest person in on the planet Earth, especially because she has that horse face. That's not in evidence. Well, her horse face is in evidence, but her hotness isn't. So again, watch the trial. We spent 18 effing days, 50 witnesses. What you have right now is nothing. We haven't even talked about how the state believed she did it. I love all you people, but some of you really, really need to understand the first principle of American law. Innocent until proven guilty. Not innocent until I saw someone on YouTube tell me she must be guilty because she was kissing another guy. Jamie, have you ever kissed another guy?
Not at all. No, I'm kidding.
Have you pecked someone on the cheek while in a relationship? Maybe because you wanted a little friction, or maybe because you just... And Jamie,
Don't use me as an example.
and you can plead the Fifth Amendment, but how many of your former boyfriends have you unalived instead of just leaving them?
They're all good to go.
The rest of
They
my
got it.
boyfriends are still alive.
They're living their life.
I love we have trolls. I love trolls in this case because they base all of their trolllessness on nothing. Because they have no evidence. Just like Larry provided zero evidence so
The
far.
trial has not shown anything. So, yeah, I mean, at this point, I would love to hear what you believe from the trial makes her guilty because we haven't, yeah, like you said, we haven't even heard how like we heard it in the opening statement, but they have not showed evidence of how she, you know, unalived him with her car.
Oh, it's an anti-turtle boy. Oh, so I don't have to listen to you anymore. You don't care about this case. You just hate Aiden. I love you people. You're so
What is-
stupid.
Well, listen, Carol,
So-
Turtle Boy has nothing to do with what's going on here, so.
Yeah, and I don't give a F about Turtle Boy relating to this. This is the Karen Reed case. You missed it. It's in the headlines. Oh, I love trolls. They're so stupid. Oh, Aiden said. Yeah, so what? So effing what? You're watching a trial where a woman potentially can go away for life, and you're angry because you don't like Turtle Boy. Did he touch your Fifi in a bad way and make it ow ow? Go jump in a lake. Come back when you want to talk about Karen Reed, and stop watching Yellow Cottage Tale. It's not good for your health.
I mean, as far as other testimony, related testimony, as it develops. But she's driving.
Oh, it's not Nima because then Nima is in Vermont getting the dog. Remember that.
Driving around that morning, she's calling a number of different people, friends of Mr. O'Keefe. She's calling Mr. O'Keefe himself. She also calls Mr. Roberts. So Kerry Roberts receives a call about 5 a.m. from the defendant indicating that Mr. O'Keefe did not come home, indicating that he got hit by a plow or that he must be dead. Ms. Roberts then gets ready. Mr. Cave is getting ready as they're all sort of planning to go out and look for Mr. O'Keefe to see if they can locate him. They call numerous times. You can see that within the text messages and the phone instructions from a variety of people's different phones throughout the course of this trial as well. So eventually the defendant comes to Ms. McCabe's home, indicates at some point prior to that she has cracked tailpipe. Ms. McCabe then gets in the driver's seat due to the defendant's frantic state. Ms. Roberts is there as well. Ms. Roberts follows Ms. McCabe driving the defendant's vehicle back to Mr. O'Keefe's residence on Meadows Ave, checks on the niece. The defendant then shows both Ms. Roberts and Ms. McCabe the damage to her right rear taillight, which is essentially missing a number of different pieces from that right rear taillight. They then proceed off to drive and see if they can locate Mr. O'Keefe. The defendant is insistent that they go to that residence on Fairview Road. Again, they're driving down there in the dark, in the snow, in the wind, in the blizzard. As they approach towards that residence, there's one person. So they're seated within the vehicle. This is Ms. Roberts' vehicle. She's driving. This is McCabe.
Tracy, you asked the wrong way. What, if anything, does Turtle Boy have to do with anything? Thank you so much. I'm not the biggest fan of turtles, but you are late and French if you conflate the two matters. Exactly, yep. Brandon. And a lot of people are very late and very French, and maybe even a little bit of British cigarettes in this case. They really want to put Turtle Boy. I love that this has become. I wanted to call it the white. The McAlberts absolutely didn't do a trial, but they want to make it. The Turtle Boy is an a-hole. That's why Karen is guilty trial, which is kind of stupid. Because that has nothing to do with the law, but they don't care because they just don't like turtles. And I like turtles if they like pizza and live in the sewers of New York.
Oh, those turtles are the coolest turtles.
Yeah. Well, the old series. I didn't like the new 3D ones.
Yeah, the old ones.
And in addition to the Brandon board.
He was in the front passenger seat. The defendant is in the rear passenger seat. The defendant is the only one who sees Mr. O'Keefe.
Commonwealth seems to have trouble with discovery everywhere. Well, I'm not impressed by the Commonwealth. Let's just say that because they bringing in a CD that they don't have the right CD for the guy who's supposed to bring it in. The defense knew there was nothing damning on it. That's why they didn't make a stink. But they could have had it dismissed.
Mm-hmm.
But Turtle Boy said.
The Turtle Boy's done this and that.
Screams at Ms. Roberts to stop. Ms. Roberts and Ms. McCabe, I anticipate, will testify that they.
Thank you, Carol. It's probably too late for me. I've been places, done stuff I'm not proud of. But the rest of us, please save us, because we need it. We are bad people. But
Because
thank
we
you so
don't
much.
want to see somebody just go to jail based off some BS.
Well, Turtle Boy's an
that they
a-hole,
don't have.
so she should go to
Yeah.
prison for life, Jamie. That's the rules of it.
Well, I mean,
But thank you, Carol.
from what the Commonwealth has presented so far, yeah, let's
Yeah.
stick her away for life.
But remember, I am the Danish People
She's-
Church, so when you call up there, get the right one. Don't get the Catholic one, because he probably won't like me.
Did not see Mr. O'Keefe, not only as they were driving past him, but even after they got out of the vehicle, until the defendant gets out of the back seat and makes a beeline essentially right over to where Mr. O'Keefe's body is found. This is McCabe, then dials 911, and shortly after that is when the officers and McCabe firefighters arrive on scene. Now, while they're waiting there, approximately 6:23, 6:24 a.m., during a conversation with the defendant asks Mrs. McCabe to look up on her phone how long someone has to be out in the cold to die from hypothermia.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
what did he just say?
I was too preoccupied with my ever-living soul.
While they're waiting there, approximately 6:23, 6:24 a.m., during a conversation with the defendant asks Mrs. McCabe to look up on her phone how long someone has to be out in the cold to die from hypothermia, something to that
He
effect.
did.
And you'll hear some dispute as to when that search was made. And you'll hear testimony from 3 different forensic extraction experts, Mr. Nicholas Guarino, Ms. Jessica Hyde, and Mr. Ian Whitfield. You'll hear about a lot of these things called extraction reports from cell phones. And the extraction reports are done with a program called Cellphone. Mr. Whiffen is someone who writes that software for Cellphone. I anticipate you'll hear from each of their testimonies that Google search that was done on Ms. McCabe's phone was done at the same time frame that she indicates the defendant requested her to do it, and that at 6:23 and 6:24 morning. You'll hear
Really?
testimony from Ms.
I like turtles. All right. I like turtles. I like turtles. All right. I like turtles.
I'm sorry, Jamie.
Oh my God.
Responding to police officers about a repeated phraseology with the defendant stated while there, asking again and again in regards to Mr. O'Keefe, is he dead? He's dead. You will also hear testimony, as I indicated, about treatment that she received at the Good Samaritan Medical Center, and that would involve testimony from Ms. Daisy Ormseth, Ms. Kathleen Wilford, and Dr. Gary Fowler. You'll hear testimony from a number of different analysts from the State Police Crime Lab and from some other laboratories as well. Included within that will be Mr. Nicholas Roberts and Ms. Maureen Hartnett.
Stop it.
I'm the worst grifter in the world. And I love all these anti-turtle boy.
What?
You're such a good grifter. Creator will say anything for clicks. Yeah, because all I've stated is misstatements of the facts provided so far. I love you, Carol. And thank you for praying for my soul.
Well,
Make it right with
what
the
it-
big guy.
we're just trying to show the truth
No,
of what has been
we
going
do
on
it
in
for
this
money.
trial.
Jamie,
my God.
grift harder.
You know what? I get no money from this other than what Baker is generous to give me, which isn't much. And he doesn't get much. This is because we want to present these things to people. Nobody's doing this for the money only. Well, some people are, but not us.
I even have a bumper that I don't run. See? now I'm grifting.
Yeah.
It was just to
Oh,
get
goodness.
in Jamie's Cash App. If anyone wants to provide a little help with her lashes. J Briggs 619, just like Rey Mysterio. She's a cousin of his. I'm not even monetized. Thank you for being a member for a month.
Rick Porto, Ms. Ashley Valier, and Ms. Christina Hansen, those all being from the state police. You will hear testimony in regard to to an incident which occurred earlier in January, right around New Year's. Mr. O'Keefe, the defendant, and the children have been invited with a much larger group, approximately 70 people or so, to spend New Year's in Aruba. This is a trip that was organized by a friend of Mr. O'Keefe's named Laura Sullivan. We'll hear a testimony from her, as well as from her sister, Ms. Marietta Sullivan, as well as you'll hear testimony from 2 children in relation to this. And essentially, day 2 or so of this trip, Marietta Sullivan, the sister of Laura, is walking through the lobby and she runs into Mr. O'Keefe. This is someone she refers to as godfather, because John O'Keefe is also the godfather of Laura Sullivan's son. Runs into him in the lobby, gives him a hug, and sort of pointing him in the direction of where she believes.
Thank you, Jim Cox, for gifting me 5 Broken Bacon memberships. To Israel here, Emma Cox, Twisted Stifter, Adelaide Lass, and None Your Business. Oh, wouldn't it have been perfect if Carol got one? Thank you.
Oh,
She's going into
thanks,
the room.
Jim.
The defendant is in the area. The defendant starts yelling and screaming and swearing at Ms. Sullivan. Ms. Sullivan responds in kind. Essentially, for the most part, the Sullivan sisters see very little of Mr. O'Keefe throughout the remainder of their trip to Aruba. And we also hear testimony from the children that shortly after this, or immediately after this, there is a approximately 20-minute screaming match going on between Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant within their hotel room. In front of
Wait, what?
Now, you'll also hear.
That's not what was testified to.
A 20-minute screaming match from who? Who said that?
In their hotel room after the incident, supposedly that's what the daughter told should testify to.
That's not what
We
she
heard
said
that she
at all.
testified they argued, but we didn't hear a 20-minute screaming match in Aruba.
No, and didn't they say that it was? I think I watched back what the notes were taken from the people that were in there, and they said it was nothing crazy.
No, it was just they argued like every other couple.
But nothing crazy is what the words were. What?
Just like. Can we ask a reporter if the daughter or son said anything about the screaming fight? I don't know any reporters. Maybe reach out to Turtle Boy. He was in the room.
Yeah, there was one that was on LTL the other night.
Oh,
and then
Meccano,
Turtle Boy-
Mescano, something.
Yeah. And nobody said anything like that.
Paul Amos, because Bev is having a little White Claw weekend, so we was rewatching it.
I'm gonna see
Just
if
to
like
see if-
yeah. Go ahead.
Jess Mercado. Yeah, I don't know her, but she was on LTL this morning.
Testimony from the defendant's phone in regard to, and from another individual's phone in regard to that Aruba. In regard to text messages of an amorous nature that she had with Mr. Brian Higgins, who was at the waterfall and also at the residence on 34 Fairview, because he was friends with homeowner Brian Albert. He was also friends with Mr. O'Keefe and had also met the defendant. And throughout the course of those amorous text messages, there is references that the defendant makes to that incident in Aruba, as she purports it to be Mr. O'Keefe cheating on her. She insists that he was making out with Marietta Sullivan in that lobby as opposed to her giving him a hug. And makes repeated reference to that within the contents of those text messages as well. Now, you'll hear testimony from a number of different other individuals, Mr. Michael Trotter, who has a supervisory role with the Canton Department of Public Works. You'll hear from Mr. Louis Jutras, who has a supervisory role with regard to IT, in regard to certain video that was recovered from the town of Canton, as well as from a temple located along the route that the defendant traveled, both away from Fairview that evening, as well as to Fairview from the waterfall, away from Fairview to Mr. O'Keefe's residence on Meadows, and then later in the morning at 5. Because if you recall, Ms. McCabe, I anticipate, would testify that she received a call from the defendant about 4:53 in the morning. The defendant then drives around Canton for some perceptible half-hour or so period of time prior to even getting to Ms. McCabe's house. And what I submit the evidence, or what I anticipate the evidence will show, based on sort of the tracking of her phone records, testimony you'll hear from Lieutenant Brian Tully of the State Police, from these faulty records and RTT accounts, that the defendant, while she's using her phone, is driving in the direction of Fairview Road.
Jamie, did we see that in the video Trotter presented?
The other guy you mean, not Trotter, the library guy.
No, the public works guy.
Well, the public works guy didn't have a video. Or Trotter didn't have a video. The other guy, you mean, right?
Why did he say Michael Trotter then? Well, but did we see her driving around the temple or in the library? We didn't see anything from the temple. We saw from the library, and we saw something happening at 12 o'clock that wasn't Karen Reed, and then we saw a still shot for 5 a.m. from 5 a.m. that didn't have
Yeah,
Karen Reed in
there
it.
was nothing on the video he pointed out by any means. It was just a video of 12 and 5. Yeah.
Yeah. So the temple video, why didn't they bring it in with the same guy? Probably, I don't know.
I'm confused. Yeah.
Yeah. And Zachary says, so here's your grubby $5, you grifting creator who will say anything for clickety clicks. I will say almost anything for clickety clicks. I thought
You
it was
kind of will.
$2 a clock. I'll clock you any day.
Prior to going to Mrs. McCabe's house where she meets Mrs. McCabe and Miss Ross. Now, again, you'll hear testimony from a number of different troopers who were involved in the investigation. With regard to this case, you'll hear from Trooper Michael Proctor and Sergeant Gary Mechanic of the State Police. You'll hear from Lieutenant Brian Tulloch. You'll hear some testimony from Trooper Joseph Hall. He's in a specialized unit within the State Police called PARS for short, but essentially a collision analysis and reconstruction section within the Massachusetts State Police. His examination of the vehicle, his examination of the scene, his examination of specifically some Toyota texture, because Lexus is essentially owned by Toyota or vice versa. So there is some data that he's able to recover from that and back the vehicle up based on its known locations and travel, key cycles, and essentially opines, anticipate he'll opine that around 12:45 in the morning when the vehicle was in front of the residence on Fairview, that for some perceptible period of time, that vehicle traveled.
Say it. Isn't good.
Over 60 feet in reverse at over approximately 24.2 miles per hour. Now, you'll hear testimony, as I said, from a number of different troopers, as well as from a number of different analysts from different labs. Included within that is Miss Maureen Hartnett, who collected items from the vehicle, defendant's vehicle, including the taillights, sort of housing from that vehicle, pieces of the taillight that were discovered in sort of the front grass and front street area. There is a specialized team called the CERT team. You'll hear from Lieutenant Kevin O'Hara, who has a supervisory role in relation to that. And then later on that day of the 29th, he, along with Lieutenant Tully and a number of different members from his CERT team, were searching for evidence within the mounds of snow in front of that house. As the blizzard is still
mounds of snow.
through sort of the afternoon hours. Among the items that they locate is a sneaker. When Mr. O'Keefe is transported to the hospital, he's found to only have one sneaker on his feet. They find the other sneakers in that area.
You're muted. Muted.
How did that sneaker fall off? And thank you, Jess.
Sorry.
No, I'm not muted anymore. A couple of bucks toward the click drive. Yeah, how did that shoe fall off, Lally? And why didn't they find it when they went around with snow blowers before there was a mound of snow? That's one of those things you could. Yeah. Jamie only prays to Lucifer.
Lucifer. He's my favorite.
Click that. My first clickety click ever inspired by Carol the Troll. Thank you, Rolling Stone. Hoi, allemaal. Hey, Lucas Knight. We haven't heard any testimony towards the belt yet.
No.
So
we haven't heard a lot of testimony about any of the stuff that they found or didn't find.
No. Yeah, the special
other than the fact that they didn't see any taillight when they were snow blowing all that, or leaf blowing all that snow around.
Yeah, and the specialized team didn't find that. They found a shoe, but they didn't find tail light. Again,
no taillight.
This is absolutely so stupid. Yeah. Why have evidence in a murder trial? You new here? Well, thank you for joining us, Lucas. And you're more than welcome. That's Dutch, Jamie. It's ich bin nieuw hier, Becker. That's Dutch.
Well, welcome.
It's Jamie. She has a wild bird reserve. Yeah.
You hear my birds?
Body that find various pieces of taillight, and as is wont to do, over the course of the following days, temperatures rise, rainstorm that comes in, and the snow melts. Over those successive days, there are additional pieces of taillights that are eventually discovered in that area of the front lawn in the street. Now, from these different pieces, Ms. Harkins also locates a cocktail glass that's located on the bumper, or the rear area of that scene, and she locates a human hair on the back of that defendant's vehicle as well. Now, the cocktail glass on the bumper, you'll also see surveillance video from the waterfall, and Mr. O'Keefe is observed on that surveillance video essentially walking out of the waterfall with a cocktail glass in his right hand. Same right hand that has minor injuries to it, and the same right hand that's attached to his right arm that has the abrasions and lacerations.
This is the good part in the opening statements.
Video essentially walking out of the waterfall with a cocktail glass in his right hand. Same right hand that has minor injuries to it, and the same right hand that's attached to his right arm that has the abrasions.
What kind of injuries are to the right hand, Jamie? Well, we don't know that because we haven't heard that yet. But it's a discoloration of the top part of his right hand. What does that have to do with him carrying a cocktail glass? And the lacerations to his upper arm, which in the ME report is described as blunt force lacerations. So she was slamming him on the arm with the cocktail glass before it broke.
Yeah.
Lacerations. They're observed by the paramedics, they're observed by the doctors at Good Samaritan, and observed by the medical examiner as well. You'll hear testimony from another analyst, Christina Hanley, about the forensic consistency between a drinking glass that was in the defendant's bumper and the drinking glass pieces that were found on scene in 34th Fair. You'll hear her testimony in regard to pieces of red and clear plastic that were microscopic in size that were found within Mr. O'Keefe's clothing. Consistent, in her opinion, I anticipate she'll testify with the same pieces of plastic contained within the defendant's taillight. You'll hear from Ashley Valerie, who works for the lab as well, and how she fit the various pieces of broken taillight from the scene together and over that taillight housing, finding them to be consistent with each other as well. You'll hear testimony from Andre Porto, who's essentially a DNA analyst for the lab, and samples that were DNA samples that were taken from the taillight, from the clothes of Mr. O'Keefe, and the broken drinking glass that were consistent with Mr. O'Keefe.
And anyone seeing it think it's dog bites, unless they have a turtleitis. Probably meant the cameras. Mm-hmm. Are we sure it's not one of the parties involved trolling? Normally it'll just be someone who doesn't like Aiden. No, the DNA samples wasn't in solo cups. The blood was in solo cups. Then they took DNA evidence of that contaminated blood in solo cups. After it's been standing, we don't know where it's been for 3 days until it shows up in the grass right next to the murder weapon, because that's how you collect evidence, keep evidence, and preserve evidence. It doesn't matter, Lucas. That's how you, again, that's how you preserve evidence in every court case. Maybe.
Those items were also sent, the taillight pieces, taillight DNA was also sent to an independent lab, both technologies located in Northern Virginia. You'll hear from an analyst there, Mr. Nicholas Bradford, indicating that the DNA on the defendant's taillight, in his opinion, is consistent with that of Mr. O'Keefe, and inconsistent with Trooper Proctor and Sergeant Mechanic, who were the two preliminary investigators, primary investigators when it came to this case. You'll also hear from Ms. Tess Sharp from that Bodie Laboratories in regard to some mitochondrial DNA that she examined in regard to that hair that Ms. Harkin found on the bumper of the car, and her opinion that it was consistent with that of Mr. O'Keefe as well. Lastly, you'll also hear from Dr. Irene Scortibello and Dr. Renee Stonebridge of the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner in regard to their various examinations. Dr. Stonebridge is a neuropathologist. She essentially examines brain findings. Dr. Irene Scortibello is a forensic pathologist who does the sort of...
Hey, Mo. It's
Hello.
just almost about to be finished. It's only taking us 2 hours to stream 36 minutes.
Okay, dingus, off the keyboard.
What's in one of my... What? Who?
Dingus the cat was trying to jump on the keyboard, so I was picking him up, and he's like, I don't want to be held. Oh, dear Lord, I've almost missed all of Lolly.
Yeah. Well, I'm only covering
Dang.
him because it's his testimony so far, or his case so far. So I don't think he's hit many of the talking points he's made during these 36 minutes. But I had a troll in here. But I can. Good news for you. Well, bad news for you. Good news for me.
Oh.
Someone's going to pray for my soul.
Well, there you go.
Hi, Mo.
I mean, always on the bright side. Now you have someone praying on a third-party intervener for your soul.
Isn't that sweet, right?
And why were you on the path to damnation? Because you don't believe anything this man has said, or
Because we're not watching Court TV's clips of things that this person believes are damning. So.
Well, I mean, you could alienate everyone and do the Trump trial, because everyone's losing their minds. Oh my gosh, Baker, if you don't get this t-shirt, I started this YouTube channel and all I got was someone praying for my soul and this dumb t-shirt. I'm out.
Well, I should get that. Not testimony, sorry, it's an opening statement. Yeah, but all the testimony from the 50 witnesses so far really hasn't matched any of what he claimed it would say.
Yeah, I'll need to go back and rewatch because thus far, I mean, I did watch the opening statements and we have barely got to John actually being dead. And then for no discernible reason, we had, the phlebotomy guy who made us turn off the fans, and then back to like random lab guy who didn't even touch the sample. I generally don't use logic because I'm an emotional person, but the way they structured this case is even mind-boggling for me.
Well, there's nothing in this case so far. You have him testifying. What did you do? Well, I got the results from the hospital. The hospital who doesn't normally do those kind of tests to the blood. And they just gave him some numbers. He plotted it into an Excel arc and then contribulated it. Well, stating, she had a somewhere between a 1.1 and a 2 point something, which would mean if a girl her size, I don't know what she weighs, 40 bananas.
Probably.
If she had a BAC at around 2, it would be her puke inside John's pants, not his. And she would be sleeping in the backseat, not driving the car. Unless
and also, he got all of his time frames from the police report. None of that. I mean, can we really trust any of that?
No. It just, you have to pick a lane and you have to stick with it. So either, she was a outrageous, woman scorned the whole time, but then again, you can't go from them, hugging and playing around at the bar to her remembering suddenly Aruba on their ride down and deciding he just needs to get, got. It doesn't make sense. Either she's always been vengeful and then you would bring up, maybe some of her exes, like this is the crazy thing that she did. But it's kind of like we're just throwing spaghetti on a wall. Like, well, maybe she was, angry, or maybe she was just drunk. I mean, who knows? And if we're going to go after drunk drivers, then the entire Canton police force is fired.
Well, I figured out how and why she did it.
Ooh.
Because that's why they're not calling the band to the bar. They ended their set by playing the good old number. And he kissed that girl in Aruba, and I got rid of him. I drove my big old Lexus, and I hit him in the chin. He was like, oh, oh, and go
It's the
back
new
to where
country.
you come from, and I don't give a if. I want this embroidered guy from ATF. That song was the last on the set list, and that
I mean,
subliminally put it in her head.
I really did have to control myself because as soon as Mr. Higgins came on, I was like, I had to fight my uncontrollable dang female, just attraction to him. I was doing an admirable job.
Jamie said it was moist o'clock at her house.
Stop it. I knew you were going to say that.
We are not making fetch happen. Stop trying
Yeah,
to make
no.
moist happen.
Stop trying to make moist happen.
I need that t-shirt.
That is true.
So if he make promises in his opening statement in court and then doesn't follow through with said promises, does that mean he lied to the courts? No, because it's not testimony. It's just his version of what's going to happen. And
Yeah.
again, who should keep him responsible? The DA's office.
Well,
They
not
won't.
only that, but the judge. I mean, once the state rests, I know Bev isn't going to do this, but this would be a directed verdict. I mean, they have, unless they, it just takes the first 30 witnesses to warm up, Lolly, then we finally get to the hard hitting. I don't know how this man died. It just, it really has. This really is the only other case except for the Turney case that I believe Michael Turney, not Aiden Turtleboy, that I honestly think could be a directed verdict. I mean, but I'm not a judge.
No, this should, if you didn't have Bev, unless someone comes up within the next 37 witnesses or something, we are still lacking, and really put the smoking gun on the table, you should have a direct avertment because they haven't proven yet. They right now, as I see it, I have her down for maximum 2 drinks that night. They can't even prove a DUI because the DUI prover said, "I don't know." Yeah, there's a lot of leeway either way. And if the lowest and the highest score is 132% between each other, that's so statistically insignificant. No, it's so wide a span of you can't use it as evidence. But the jury is the finder of evidence.
I know the jury is the finder of evidence, but at this point, can the judge or can the jury send like, are we even going to learn how this guy died in the next, month and a half? Because Bev, I've got places to be.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I was looking at that Microsoft case, and I think it starts around the end of June. I'm not sure I'm going to make that.
Well, I mean, did we figure out if Sarah Boone has her 18th or 73rd lawyer?
I don't. What? She's supposed to be back in court next Friday.
Oh, well, I hope she brings her checkbook because I was promised all this Sarah Boone money.
Yeah. Quaalude Bev is compromised.
Yeah, I don't like the speaking or the no speaking objections because it does give the appearance that she is just like flipping a coin as to what she's, sustaining and what she's overruling.
Yeah, and you can't figure out what. That's one thing I hated with Judge Mommy, but I'm missing now. She always put it in the record when she didn't have speaking objections, but she put it in the record when the jury was out of the room.
There's, I think, a happy medium that could be engaged here instead of, Daryl Brooks on the record for the record, and then Bev, two-facing it. Like, it's just, you could have one word or two, just one word, because unless you are a trial junkie like all of us included here, you don't know what hearsay versus cumulative versus, facts not in evidence. I mean, if you're, doing if you're a juror and you've never even been around a trial, you don't know what any of this means. It just means gobbledygook.
Yeah, and again, they're just sitting there, overruled. I'll let him have it. Overruled. I'll let him have it. It's what does that mean?
That doesn't she does that weird thing was like, look, I'll sustain that in that form. You can ask it a different way.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, and then she's like, you're almost there, but ask it a little differently.
Yeah.
It's just very odd.
It's it's just weird. Not speaking objections is fine. It's the not saying objection X hearsay cumulative that annoys me. Yeah. Let's get just, but then put it in the record, because on an appeal, they have to have objections to appeal this case, and all they have now is just objection denied, objection sustained.
Yeah, and I do think that the defense has, put their objections on the record, so I think they are playing it really smart that, we have continuing objections to this. Now, I really do not understand how this screenshot or printed out paper of text messages that haven't been, I guess, the foundation has not been laid. How did you get this? When did you get this? Did you, have any sort of manipulation? They just hand over like a piece of paper with some text messages on it that look very odd, but they're obviously just real evidence.
And again, how do we know? Because we didn't get the phone. How did we know he didn't curate the text messages? Because there was no timeline. There was no when I pick up my phone, I'll see the times it was sent to me, or when I opened it. You can't say if she said, well, I just gave you a peck on the cheek. Yeah, weak source. And the next 5 messages is maybe she wrote it, well, it's not going to happen again because that was just a big mistake. If he curated it out, I don't say I can't say he did it, but he went to one of the best tech guys. He's testified in what's the case he testified in? Aaron Hernandez's case about cell phones, I believe it was.
Yeah, but I mean,
he was his buddy who helped him.
Yeah, we did. We've done Daryl Brooks. We've done, other places, like even the Chandler Holderson. You had some, detective with an IT goatee and like, yes, I downloaded everything from Cellbrite. This is the way we do. And you're like, have you been trained in Cellbrite? Yes, I've been trained in Cellbrite. And then you have the person, you've authenticated that came. Now, maybe I've missed a couple of days and we had that, IT, Cop McCopperson who came up. But how in the hell did they get this without laying foundation?
Because that's my text messages. I allow it.
Okay. I mean,
because again, in a normal case, you would have raised an objection saying, Your Honor, we can't be sure this is in the right order or anything. It should be in a pretrial motion, and I bet it's been in a pretrial motion, and she allowed it. Well, if they've opened it, I think that it'll only serve White Claw, and it'll be closed every day.
Every other day, yeah. I think that's the whole thing is like, if you want to say, well, how did this get in? Ask Beth, because like Baker said, like anything that the defense could have raised that they didn't want in, they've raised it, and she didn't. She's ruled against it. So
yeah. Oh, Jess is our, legal correspondent, and she said they did lay down foundation by asking the witness if those were their text and that they took the screenshot. Ooh. Well,
Yeah, and
I also
again,
promise that I am the weight that I lied out on my driver's license.
yeah, I am
That's not an
6.
evidence.
I'm 6 foot, 120 pounds,
Yeah,
and
Same.
that's what it is.
I'll testify to that every other day. They really haven't proven nothing relevant to the case that I'm aware of. Also, I was hearing your country is riddled with grenade crimes. This true? No, but my neighboring country is. Sweden has a big problem with oversized fireworks. We don't have it so much. When we have it, it's Swedes coming over here. Swedes coming over here taking care of Danes.
Ah, good to know.
My guess is the reason they can go into the destroying of the phone is the compromise for the screenshots of the text. It could be, but I really want. One of the worst things are you can't do a cell bright now. The phone isn't there, but imagine what a cell bright on Brian Higgins' phone could prove.
Yeah, it again goes to credibility. And if you had a bunch of nuns who all turned in their phones, I mean, but you have people that it's been shown through cross-examination that not proctologist, Proctor didn't even talk to them until like 4 minutes before they went on the stand. Like, hey, by the way, this crime we're looking at, were you there?
Yeah. Hey, do you know anything about this case? Who? What? Can you just say it snowed a lot? Sure. Be a restaurant should be called Colluding with Lollygaggers and a bar called Sidebar.
Hey, I'd go there just to buy a t-shirt.
Yeah, and again,
No,
a
that's
White
true.
Claw.
Well, I mean,
I'd
that's
do like a White Claw.
I'm just having straight whiskey. White Claws are gross. I know I'm probably like a traitor to my entire gender, but
No.
just gross.
It's not for everyone. I don't mind them. I put the little flavoring in them too, so I make them
Oh yeah.
taste
Well, but
better.
now they're just selling seltzer water, and I'm like, who wants seltzer water and sadness?
Yeah. A lot of the evidence CV is promoting has no timestamp or anywhere verified it's legitimate. No, but the problem is they probably filed all the pretrial motions against most of this, trying to get it out, and Bev ruled, that's fine. Whenever they came and said, well, we really like this. Remember the first 3 hearings? I'll rule on that later, was what she always said. Then we got the jury report from the FBI. And then she changed the tone a little bit. Karen Reed is blessed that the FBI is looking into this, so they have some really hardcore evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, and since when did Cellbrite become unreliable? I mean, I'm sure every other case we've, held up Cellbrite as the end-all be-all of like phone DNA data extraction, but now it's unreliable.
Yeah.
It's only unreliable when it doesn't work for them.
And again, the second they get up there and say, well, you can't really trust Cellbrite, their phone is going to ring with every appeal lawyer in the state of Massachusetts saying, hey, fellas, remember that Cellbrite extraction you did on my client's phone where you said this proves he was slinging rock? We'll probably see you in church, not in church, in court Monday. I think the biggest problem will be Bev is running interference for the state because they have had a lot of things they wanted to put in already, which should, in my opinion, well, they have a tendency to stack the questions. I don't know, Alan does it to get past all the the objection from Lally, but still, there's a lot of things they should have been able to ask that they're not allowed to ask. So yeah,
It's just all
Autopsy
crazy.
and medical examination of Mr. O'Keefe's body. You'll hear about the variety of sort of injuries that she observed over Mr. O'Keefe's body from. In particular, you'll hear testimony in regards to lacerations right back of his head. The testimony.
we haven't heard any testimony to the lacerations on the right back of his head in 18 days.
Not to
Specifically,
mention,
lacerations was just said.
yeah, not to mention, Dr. Mick, I know nothing, was like, look, I wasn't looking at the back of his head. I'm only looking to see if he's breathing, which is what it is. But still, you'd think that maybe someone would be in charge of, I don't know.
Yeah,
looking
just
at those
checking
kind
if
of
he has
things.
skull fractures, because that could potentially be a problem. Well, again, they want to get him alive to begin with. But again,
True.
a head wound would be a gusher. There would be blood all over him. All the EMTs should have seen
Yeah.
that pool of blood where the 2 liters of blood is that's missing. That's what I said in the beginning, Bumbling B. If a Cellbrite employer goes to the stand and says, we don't know what we're doing. We just made an algorithm. It's probably okay. I don't know. What do I know? Then Cellbrite is bankrupt tomorrow. Every state court in all of the Western world is inundated with appeal cases. We use Cellbrite all the time in Danish courts. It's a standard. It's what everyone uses. In Denmark, some 5 or 10 years ago, we had a problem because the accuracy of GPS had been overstated. So they went into thousands of cases to see if they had anything to do with the judgment in them. So they had to be tried again if they relied on GPS data for the verdict. So the Cellbrite guy will make a demonstration on how, that's what they asked for, a Cellbrite extraction demonstration, which is a computer where you put in a plug to the phone, and then you have a program that downloads everything and dumps it in a folder, and then you need another program to unscramble it and give you the data saying this happened at this at this time. And the jury will be sitting there just like Mr. Mo, when Mo is telling him, well, this is blinking all the time when I hit that one, and I don't understand why that one isn't blinking, because I talked to someone I saw on YouTube that it was blinking, and he's asking, the computer, or no, the one that, when I pressed the button and I thought it should be blinking. That's how the jury will be looking at them, because it's technical gobbledygook. It's the worst thing in the world to have tech guys tell something to normal people, because they are a little bit autistic. And he's going to say, this is the evidence. And they're going to say, can we believe what's stated next to it, that this is 2:27 o'clock? And he said, I don't know. I download the data. It's not me who does anything. Well, if your program says 2:27, is that happening at 2:27? And if he says anything other than, yep, Cellbrite will be out of business the day after.
Yeah.
Unless he was dead before the head wound. Yeah, well, he's still missing 2 liters of blood, which is a quarter of a half a gallon. So he needs to lose that somewhere. And that's what I'm saying. Bev is running interference. This is ground for appeal, but they can bring it up during their case in chief. I don't think we will know what was agreed upon to not ask questions about, or what the objections were about, until we see the transcript of the court. If that's how, no, we won't. We don't understand anything until it comes out. Yeah, that's, again, if they can get into it, but they're not allowed to by Bev. Do phone companies not have all text, or does that go also after factory resetting their phones? Didn't some was it? Didn't T-Mobile get sued for keeping everything for 2 years at some point? Because they
Have we
kept it.
Hmm.
I believe they have
don't remember.
in Europe. I think we have some law about they have to keep some kind of digital footprint of something to, of course, to help with the CA cases. It's always for to protect the children. Remember that. But I think T-Mobile got sued, or someone got sued because they kept some data for a long time. I'm not sure. But I think in Europe they keep it for like 6 months or something. I'm not sure.
I think
Yeah.
this was the part where I started poking myself in the eye to make sure I was still awake and alive. But has he mentioned the video that we are going to see of, Karen passing with the broken tail light?
Yeah, it was like 10 minutes ago, and
Oh,
we saw that video. I hope they bring someone back to tell us what the first time we saw it didn't show.
Yeah, what was on it? Because it didn't look like anything to me.
Yeah, I don't think they would get iMessage. Wasn't there a case where they got into an iPhone, but maybe that was because they broke the code? Because yeah, I know Apple has been fighting really hard to provide anything, but I think we have a law in Europe that they must preserve some kind of, to protect the children, of course, some kind of digital footprint. Yes, they can say that, or ask him that. Google would testify data is absolutely timestamped. This is how digital. JC, between you and me, brother, Lally is making a fool of himself when he's saying, well, I searched in an old tab. That's why, because Google's database doesn't understand that, because that's your local thing. When you hit the search bar, it'll ding the Google server again to ask for the question. Because yes, it will recommend you what you searched earlier, but that tab she claimed was open was for girls' little league baseball or whatever it was. So the second she changes the input on that tab, it's a new tab because it's a new inquiry to the Google server. So I know you and I know this, but Lally doesn't know this. They're absolutely stupid, because of course Google server isn't in contact with your phone the entire time, and then you can just use the same, because that will really make my use of incognito tabs. Moving on. And it would at least have been around his body when they found him, especially because Carrie Roberts said she put towels around his head because it was so bad.
yeah, a lot of this just, unfortunately, they're having to go with the truthiness, for lack of a better word, of these witnesses, and they have been so slimy that it really is amazing that they don't have any credibility.
And I would love to ask Lally if he keeps, because right now I have 6 tabs open. Are all of them, because I opened all of them at the same time, so is everyone at the same time, and I haven't been doing anything for the last 2 minutes and 23 seconds, or every time I hit this one,
In regard to an emission.
does it send a signal to Google and say, I want that to play in my end, with a timestamp saying at 6:28 Greenwich Mean Time +1, he hit the tab asking it to play? Of course it does. That's how a server works. A server is just ones and zeros. It doesn't do anything until you tell it to do something. Wasn't it baby towels in the back of a truck? I think they talked about baby towels. I wasn't home. Jamie, do you remember?
It was blankets. That's all I heard. It was blankets because I said, "Where did they get this blankets?"
Oh,
Because we never saw the blankets, or
But that's
you
a
know.
typical thing, especially if so I'll do that in the winter. I mean, look, if you're type A to the max, if you
sorry.
ever
Bio
get,
break.
you know,
Keep it going.
oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
Having blankets, having maybe kitty litter or, you know, sort of winter stuff in your car, that doesn't really in order for them to have charged the way they did, they either have to know that she had intent or they are huffing the most incredible paint thinner. And I wish they would share with the rest of the class.
Yeah.
Even Doggo agrees. He's like, yes, paint thinner now. And how many months in are we going to be before we actually learn what the hell happened to this man?
I was hoping, like, good God, I can't believe when they said they were going to take 4 weeks for their part of the case, and then 2 for the defense is what they said. So 6 weeks altogether, and we're 18 days in. And what do we have, Mo?
Well, we know
Nothing.
that Colin was never there, and he's always been a peaceful person in his life, except for when he's making Snapchat, you know, threats to other other hockey teams. And can I just say, look, I try not to make internet drama, but the Coffin Dingle face or whatever her name is,
Yes.
you always have the main investigator. They're kind of like your, you know, look, I collated everything from here. I was directing this. The reason that we, you know, didn't look into this avenue is, you know, we actually did look into, you know, the scary ninjas from, you know, Jodi Arias, but there was no proof. I mean, you need that guy to kind of give you a reason why certain leads weren't, you know, pursued and this case was. I mean, so for her to say that he had no firsthand experience, well, I mean, it doesn't seem like he even had third or fourth hand experience, but you need someone to kind of give the logic of the case.
Well,
At
why
least I
did you have to
thought.
do that just before I ended? Now I have to go take pills to fight the massive headache I get from Caffey Daffy.
Well,
Daffy.
she just
Daffy
that is the
Doofer
dumbest
is so
take
stupid.
I've do we even know if she really was? Was she like look, and no shame on this, but was she like a secretary to someone in the FBI?
I
I'm
believe
I'm
it.
calling
That's what it
BS.
really is. Yeah, because
I am
I
calling
don't think
BS. She worked at like the gift section. She's like, "Would you like an FBI t-shirt? I'm with the FBI."
she probably like walked through the property and claimed she was an FBI agent.
She got one of
She
those
watched
caps,
Feds.
female body inspector, and
Yeah,
just thought,
she did.
She watched Feds
She
and she's
got a
like,
shirt
"Well, if
off
that
Amazon
blonde."
and thinks she's a FBI agent now.
Oh, for the love of God.
Female body inspector. I forgot about those. Everybody used to have those stupid shirts back in the day.
I should have that shirt.
I feel like you need one just for nostalgia.
I feel like Baker has 4 of those shirts in different colors, and he's just like, "I have one of those."
So everybody send him one in every color you can possibly find, please.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I should work out in one. Hey,
So
Baker.
he can have a week's worth of t-shirts. Oh, I love it.
Do you think the defense will have trouble on direct with Proctor and these big other big corrupt players? Will Bev actually deem them hostile witnesses when requested? The last one, no, never. Proctor will he will be more elusive than Brian Higgins. He will testify, well, I don't know, maybe, and everyone will say, but everyone's saying you lie. You wrote the report false. I did it to the best of my recollection. I wrote down what they told me. and he will be a lot of those buzzwords. Be to the best of my memory, to my recollection, to this. Go back and watch the Travis Rudolph lead investigator interview.
She's the
I
worst.
think it'll
Oh.
be exactly the same. No one told me to do that. I didn't know.
No one
I
said
didn't
there
know.
was evidence. How was I supposed to know to pick
Whatever.
up
He took all of it into his own hands. He decided to do whatever he wanted to do.
Yeah,
And speaking of Mo, Colin said he's never fought anybody. How many videos has Turtle Boy put out there already of Colin fighting?
3.
There's like 3.
He's always peaceful. He was always a
Yeah. So
peaceful,
don't try to
good
lie
boy,
on national
angel.
TV. Don't lie on national TV and think people aren't going to find your dirty laundry. Stupid.
Yeah.
Also, why are you wanting to fight someone over hockey? I am all confused.
Well,
but I'm not.
We fight over
They're-
football.
They are juveniles. I mean, they fight over like, I can't imagine.
Hey,
Jeez.
Sleuthy Goosey.
Hey, Sleuthy.
Hello.
A good one to follow on X as well. Lot of good
Oh yeah, she's
good
good.
little things. Her and Olivia is very good at finding all those little interesting things.
Putting together documents. Really great for that.
Yes.
I'm impatient for the DNA and hair evidence to come in and see how defense cross-examines it. They had the DNA from the arm, and I was with a cop in Tennessee that week. I might have mentioned pig DNA on a cop's arm more than once.
Oh, that was special. I want to hear what Proctor has to say and all this evidence that they have, because he has to come in. There's no way they can't call him because he's the one that's going to put it all together. He has the tail light. He has the what did we say earlier? He said he has the video evidence of her being hammered drunk.
One.
So much.
He has all the taillights. He has. Sleuthy will probably beat me because I'm getting this wrong. He has 4 undocumented searches on the front lawn where he finds evidence every single time. He
Is that
finds
5?
the tail light in John's clothes, which he had in his office for a week without. Yeah, that's just normal.
All of it's normal.
They claimed he had time-stamped videos of her doing 9 or 10 shots. Haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
You have him being the man who interrogated everyone, and everyone have said our testimony wasn't what is written. So they have to call him in there and say, did they just lie to us, all of them? Or are you really that bad of a detective? And again,
Mhm.
why did they remove
Yeah.
why did they remove the tail light housing from the car? It's not necessary to remove the tail light housing from the car. They can do a forensic investigation without removing it from the car. And why did they break the car? Why didn't they just remove the 4 screws that's necessary to remove a tail light? He has all the answers because a lead investigator is the guy everyone reports to, and he does that funny little thing where he gets this stack of evidence, and then this stack of evidence, and then this stack of evidence, and then he puts all of it together and gives it to Mr. Lally and says, here's your case. And Lally will call him. He won't call John Ryan, cop number 45, and ask him, hey, they'll call and say, we have this evidence. Can you please elaborate where that's from? Yes, I have it in my report from John O'Ryan. He found it on Fairview the 25th of September at 2:20 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's what you need a lead investigator for. So you don't have to bring in every state trooper, but we know there's 8 state troopers still on the docket.
So stupid. Yeah, and I am very, very interested in hearing who's going to testify on the state's behalf that he was definitely hit by a car. That's going to be my favorite thing to hear.
Well, I want to see the little, O.J. Simpson style computer animation of how the hell she was going 24 miles an hour, hit him, he flew back, but only hurt the back of his head, 100 feet away. Like
Yep.
this doesn't make sense, and they needed to really kind of stopgap the defense. If they know this is going to be a big kind of credibility issue, they need to answer these questions fairly soon into their case so that everything else builds up, because you could have the medical examiner kind of in there before everyone else started saying, well, she was really pissed off because, all of his girlfriends were kind of weird and territorial, but you need to say this could happen. It's really weird, all of it.
Yeah. Just like he claimed they had ring footage of Karen hitting him. That wasn't him. That was Morrissey, the lead, the DA, stating in an unprecedented press conference they had her on camera. And you can trust every witness the state brings. They are only telling the truth, because that's how that works. No, that's not absolutely nothing to do with how that, and that's why, Carol, thank you for all the prayers. That's why I don't get I get people don't like him, Turtle Boy. He's a special cookie, and that's fine. You like him, you don't, you use him for information, or you don't, doesn't matter. But look at the evidence brought in the case so far. We've been watching 36 minutes and 24 seconds of Lally telling us what he would show us. The names of the witnesses he claimed he would bring is correct. The rest of it, not so much.
Mm-hmm. And Sleuthy has a question.
Sorry.
And
you
I
all
say,
think Lally
absolutely.
Well, the micro something test did show it was a hair consistent with the profile of John O'Keefe. So of course he will bring her in to testify. Well, it's John O'Keefe's hair, and then they're going to put up an expert saying, "You failed your proficiency test. You're an idiot." Well, we had it tested at that institute down in Florida.
John has siblings, or did have siblings. Mitochondrial DNA can only get back to the matriarchal line of that DNA. So it could also be any of his siblings. So that's why people don't generally rely on hair unless the root is attached, so they can get actual DNA.
Well, from what we've seen is Lally brings in these witnesses and he gets what he thinks he needs from, a lot of times the testimony is just so stupid, but he's getting the testimony and then he sits down and he lets them just be destroyed.
Yeah, but that's my problem.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care.
My problem in this entire case is he thinks he brings on a strong case, and he gets them to say, well, first of all, he starts out with, what's your name? Are you married? Where do you live? Who do you live at the address with? Do you have kids? Do you have? Yeah, and then but I talk about this every time we have a case, Jamie. 45 minutes is the maximum attention span a human being can have on a subject. Then they need 5 minutes of break and go do something. He spends 30 minutes talking about, did you know Adam and Eve lived in paradise until Eve ruined everything? and by the end, you're sitting here thinking, are we going to get to anything soon? And then defense stands up and says, so you lied in your testimony to this one, you lied in your testimony to that one. And that's what people will remember, because they paid attention to the 20 minutes of him testifying about, oh, you like blue socks over black socks. And again, I'm a little bit at AJ, because he makes his questions very compact. So there's the objections will be sustained, because he asks too much in one question. But Lally is asking, what if anything? What do you remember when you drove down the road? What if after you turned the corner? What if anything happened?
That was my favorite.
Yeah, and
you turned the wheel left. What happened? What if anything happened?
Yeah,
I
and
turned left. I don't know what you want me to say.
yeah, and the
What,
witness is
if
sitting there
anything, when you
saying,
were waking up, did you do? I woke up.
yeah,
But
Oh
one of
yeah,
those
he's
that you
been
wear.
saying that a lot to people. What if anything when you opened your eyes that morning or something? What was he saying about waking up? Oh my god.
yeah.
What if
What if anything happened when you woke up? I I I
you woke
watched.
up
I saw my phone. I had a text message. What
from
if
something?
anything, did that say objection? Oh, and the bridge, great show. The British made it, the tunnel not as good, but the bridge is actually a good show. If any of you like crime shows, you'll probably have to watch it dubbed. I don't know if they have made it in an English version yet, but pretty good show. The Nordic crime noir is a pretty good genre. Wasn't it declared
Yeah.
not human hair first? Well, it was declared to not be a human hair, but then they did the mitochondria, I think it's called,
Yeah.
DNA test, and that confirmed that it had a profile akin to John O'Keefe's, but again, as Mo says, it doesn't measure the full profile, and that's why you'll almost never hear about it in court. Because, and I want to hear the numbers, because that's another thing. When you hear numbers in relations to DNA test, we saw that in the Zachariah Anderson's case. They were in the thousands, I think like 10,000 to 1. 10,000 to 1 isn't a lot in America. You have 365 million people. There's a lot of
That's true.
10,000s out there. So again, a lot of people could have the same DNA. You want numbers in the billions to make sure it's this person and this person's only. And you can't do that with that DNA test.
And didn't they say this hair was found on the taillight?
Yeah.
So again, how many times? I mean, I've yelled this before, and you can disagree with me if you want, but you're claiming his head never hit the taillight. So what does it matter? None of this matters to like. He didn't get smashed in the head with a taillight. So
Yeah.
a hair being there is going to prove what?
Who,
One
if anyone, was
single
driving the
hair
vehicle?
is going to prove what?
Well,
Like
yeah,
someone said
and
earlier in the chat too, on a vehicle that two people who were in a relationship together, who probably rode in the same car together, probably touched the outside of the car at some point in their life, like has been around the car
And
together.
she normally
That's a
parks in
good
the
point.
garage, which would be an environment where
Yeah.
it wouldn't blow around a lot. But if he walks
Yeah.
around the car to open the door, that's a potential for hair. Again, one hair, unless it's with a 2-inch diameter scalp attached to it, it's nothing. But can you convince the jury? Because we talked about this a million times. Cases has nothing to do with the law and nothing to do with the facts. It has all to do what the jury will believe. And as we can
Mhm.
see, we saw it again here today. Some people don't give a F about the case. They give a F about they don't like Karen. They don't like Turtle Boy. They don't like Sleuthy Goosey. They don't like Doink the Clown. Well, everyone loves Doink the Clown.
Well,
But
true.
they don't care about the facts. We haven't even seen her freaking receipt from the bar. Well, we saw the receipt from the bar, but they didn't go into it. We just saw it projected to the wall, and there's 10 shots on this. Arr.
Yeah, and I think what people on the other side tend to not be as charitable about is that just because, let's say, we find more credibility with Karen doesn't mean that we do not want justice for John. I think people think it's an either or kind of equation. You are either with the state or you want Karen, and you want no one punished for this. But that's not the thing. And it's a really disingenuous way to argue. No, we don't want to see, whoever ended this gentleman's life to not find justice. We are simply stating that this is not a case from which any juror could, reality 100% say, yes, they've proved to me thus far that, she was the only person with means, opportunity, or motive to do this. I mean, that's I think the problem that we run into is people on the other side genuinely thinking we just want people to walk off and skate, and for, you know, whoever did this terrible thing not to get justice. And it's really gross.
Yeah, and again, but the problem is the longer this case is going. I wrote this on DY, guys. He had a thing on Twitter the other day when court was on. Remember those days when there was court? Well, he said something about this case in 18 days, and I said, "Have you ever seen a simple DUI hit and run take more than a week?" All of us are very invested in it. There's 173 people watching us rewatching an opening statement. But I've been doing jury duty for 13 years. A lot of crimes I see as it's just a Sunday. Well, it doesn't matter. It's just, well, someone did the old shoulder bump and beat up a guy. Yeah, he got beat up pretty bad. But again, it's just a 244 case in Denmark. That is excessive violence. Oh, it's just drugs. Even there, because you get used to it. Anyone who has been near the police, the court system, will see this as a simple hit and run case. There's nothing in this case that should be this elaborate. You don't need 45 witnesses to testify about an old case. If you had a good case of her being a crazy B word and him telling her constantly on text, "I want to get out of this effing relationship. You are killing me." And this case should last at no more than a week. We watched the Joanne. Help me out, Jamie. The Michigan. I don't know. Midwest case, the one who ran over a horse, Lorianne, the Lorianne case.
Okay.
It took 4 days. Exactly the same thing like this one. Out drinking, well, not exactly, but kind of the same. That's why I watched it.
Yeah.
Out
They're
drinking.
out drinking. Got in a fight.
He gets angry. She drives off. Most likely hit him with the rear wheel tires. Gets off because there's no proof she hit him with the car. And they had cloth fibers underneath the car consistent with his pants. He had injuries to his chest cavity. He had a quarter of a blood in his chest cavity. Crushed ribs all around.
And he was in a snowbank.
And he was in a snowbank outside the house. She
Frozen.
found him the next morning.
Yeah.
Exactly all of the parameters were almost like this. And she got off because they didn't
believe
no
she did it intentionally.
Yeah, there's no intention behind it.
That she was just trying to get out of a crazy situation, and she thought he was backed away from the truck enough and just left the driveway, and lo and behold.
And no one will be going after anyone in this case, because the people who should be going after them will be Lally. Lally won't go after anyone. This city is corrupt.
Yeah, it's the DA's office that has to decide to investigate and bring charges against the people. And more than likely, when this is said and done, they will not.
Yeah, they will just say, well, we couldn't prove it was her. We still believe it was her, but the jury saw it another way. If Lally ever gets around to introducing a witness with a molecule of evidence, it'll go over the juror's head, in my opinion. Ultimately, none of this is justice for John. No, exactly, Crime Spice. And
Right,
if you want the court dates shortened without all the breaks and all the sidebars and all the Bevnigans, go to follow Crime Spice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, for real, she's been doing some real hard work on editing these videos, and they're pretty much down to the point. So yeah, people should go check her out. Give her some likes and views.
A court case is never justice for a victim of a crime. It's punishment for what they can prove happened, and nothing is being proven except a family that is or has questionable connection. Exactly. Commonwealth's best shot was to say she was intoxicated and hit him by accident. They can't prove it, but at least it's plausible. Yeah, but they wanted her to cop to a plea deal, and that's why they upcharged her to scare her off. They didn't figure out this little woman is a terrier.
Yeah.
She fights.
Hmm.
So, and again, every witness you bring on, except the Kolyakakis and the guy where the son was staying that night, the guy who did the ninja from the bar, the Irish goodbye. Other than that, every witness has come off either as massive sleazebags who clearly can't remember, or as really starting out as bad for the defense, but ending up helping the defense. And this is, again, how is Lally this inept? People was asking me, do you think he's throwing this on purpose? And I said, nope. I think he's really bad at his job. Because, again, we've been watching 36 minutes, and he can't even give an opening statement without using his Lallyisms.
Yeah.
He's just hoping to get, if you have 174 witnesses, then surely you wouldn't, have gone through all this trouble to get someone you have no real evidence on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's as I always say, somewhere in this pile of witnesses, there is someone who really said something. You can't remember it, but see all the witnesses we sent you. And that's the problem. The accused were very supportive of Karen Reed. Didn't they believe she did it? I thought they didn't really talk to her. Oh, the accused in the beginning, but I don't like that brother that's staring at her all the time as he's about to attack her.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Perry, to me, and you're one of the new people here who came out after the clipping. I've said this the last 2 weeks or something like that. Why did they try to frame Karen Reed? A simple slip and fall, and it'll be out. Colin could have been using him as a piñata. They throw him out there, bash his head on the electrical cabinet. It's a slip and fall. Sadly, he died in the cold. Oh, Karen Reed.
Couldn't he have
Here's
fallen on the walk in? I mean, I know he has other scrapes.
No,
and
because then
abrasions.
you'll have Karen have had to see him because she didn't leave immediately.
Oh, well, it's very weird that no one saw anything, but they all definitely know Karen did it.
Oh, I know. Because it's like nobody saw a body, but Karen, it's just like a he said, she said, because Karen said she dropped him off. She saw him go in the house.
Yeah.
And then she sat there. And then everybody pulled up, said, oh, didn't see John in the car. They saw just a woman. And then everybody's leaving and nobody sees a body laying on the lawn. Just nobody sees anything. Nobody saw the accident. Nobody saw him.
You have Higgins saying he saw a tall, dark-haired stranger. All of a sudden, never testified to it again.
Oh, yeah.
Because the plow driver was supposed to get blamed. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If you wanted this to go away without any problem, you bring him outside, look around, nobody's here. You grab his head, give it a good slash on the electrical cabinet, and then because he has the vomit inside his pants, you said, well, after Karen left, he came inside and he got real drunk. And he left around 3 a.m. When everyone else was gone. And he's been in the toilet. I think he was sick. We found one of his sweaters the next day. And then we were woken up by all the screaming. And John was laying out there. He must have slipped on his way home, fell very, very badly.
Yeah.
It was a tragedy. She gets the triangle flag. He gets a good send-off, and the kids get a pension. Case closed. Instead, they attack the terrier, and terriers are just like rats, really bad to put in a corner. No, I said it from the start. You don't need 25 people. You need Proctor, you need Lally, and you need the people in the house who's all connected to each other. That's less than 10 people.
Well, the thing is, like, it doesn't really have to be anything, really. I mean, they're just, for me, it's just proving more and more that, first of all, these people are shady AF. Like, so many lies and so many sneaky things they're doing. But ultimately, I want to see what evidence they have against Karen. I want to see what the Commonwealth has that tells me that she is the only person that could have done this. That's all that really matters to me.
Yeah.
And that's why you need Proctor to say, look, there were a lot of different things we looked at. We first looked to see if he slipped and fell, if, there was, celebrity death match in, the basement, things like that. You need to have someone who can be seen as trustworthy, kind of say, look, we did look at these other, ideas, but eventually and sadly, we focused only on Karen because that was where the evidence took us. But you have a major credibility problem when even someone who hasn't been paying attention to the case is like, wait a minute, you collected things in red Solo cups, you use snow blowers, and there's between 4 inches and 170 feet worth of snow.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, let's get to the rest of it so I can go make myself some dinner. Oh, sorry.
Good idea.
Sort of skull fracture that occurs to the back of his head, and then sort of a radiating skull fracture that goes throughout his skull, which then leads to subdural hemorrhage, or essentially bleeding on the brain and then swelling of the brain, which then causes a condition called ecchymosis, which then sort of leads to the swelling of both of Mr. O'Keefe's eyes that is observed by the initial response. You will hear various testimony about sort of issues in regard to the pancreas, how that's indicative of hypothermia. Now, again, as I said, this is the first of 2 times that I have an opportunity to address you directly. And I thank you very much for your attention today. And I thank you for the anticipation of your close attention as we go through all of the witnesses and all the evidence in this case. That second time that I do get to address you, what I'll be asking you to do based on the evidence, and again, as the board has instructed you, you are the sole arbiters of the facts of this case. You are the ones who find what the facts, and I reiterate that, the facts, and what the evidence demonstrates in this case. And what I submit to you at that time, that second time, is that the only true and just verdict based on that is that the defendant, Karen Reed, is guilty of murder in the second degree, striking the victim, Mr. O'Keefe, with a car, knocking him back onto the ground, striking his head on the ground, causing bleeding in his brain, swelling, and then leaving him there for several hours in a blizzard, with temperatures in the teens, wind swirling around, snow piling up on his body until she comes with Mrs. McCabe and Mrs. Roberts just after 6 a.m. And that she is also guilty of vehicular manslaughter, operating under the influence of liquor, and that she is also guilty of leaving the scene after causing death. Thank you very much for your time.
So that's what happened. She drove into him. He fell backwards, hit his head, got a skull fracture. That's what Lally said. Again.
Yep.
When are we going to see all of that?
I'm just
Hopefully
amazed
soon.
that we got through it without sleeping with our eyes open.
It's it's so annoyingly crazy, and I won't be doing Yanetti's opening because again, this 36 minutes, 3 hours to get through, and it's Friday night.
Oh my God, yeah.
And because it's a Friday night, Brandon, are you here? You know what time it is when it's Friday o'clock. So I'll go get ready for that. Brandon, get ready.
Or Brandy, we are not assuming your gender. Let's go. So, which it is the year of our Lord 2024. So,
Ashton, maybe I am. Maybe I am barking.
Yeah. Also, can we just know where daggone Chloe is? I feel like I am more invested in where this dog went. Did anyone cover that they have a dog that doesn't like people much, and then sister friend girl just ran into their room and didn't get her face bitten off?
Well, she didn't even see the dog, and Brian testified that he didn't know where Chloe was. Like, how do you not know where your dog is? My dogs are up my butt all day long. I know
Yeah.
exactly where they are at all times, and they're loud. So,
Well, and Fry was really protective of, like, when I was going, if someone would just barge into my room, I don't know that Fry would have dealt with that.
oh yeah, I mean, mine are friendly as can be, and they would have barked their faces off.
Annika, most likely because they don't like Aiden. Just poured your beer. Well, then you're ready to go. Thank you all so much for showing up. And this is all the new ones. This is me and Brandon. We have our little Friday ritual. And Brandon has his own board right here, blinged out.
Oh, I saw it. It's very fancy dancy.
Yeah, I
Oh,
got
it's
bling
a
bling on it.
pretty cup. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Happy Friday.
The
Yes.
dog not losing his mind, a police officer not waking up with 5 cars running outside the house, no one noticing 3 phone calls, even though 2 of them was received. No one hearing a woman screaming so loud that everyone at the scene heard her.
And
Make it make
let's
sense.
not forget all the butt dialing that has happened in this case. I have never
I do
heard
wanna-
so many people butt dialing in my life. Butt calling, butt picking up, hanging
butt
up,
signing
calling
in
back.
for prison. I mean, we have some. If we don't get a butt talent show out of this,
I mean, I know it's possible, but
shenanigans.
ever since, like, I mean, I used to, back in the day with the old cell phones, it seemed like you could butt dial all the time, but now with the new stuff, because everything's locked, and I haven't received a butt dial from any of my friends in a long time. I'm kind of sad now.
Jamie, you want to take a crack of what Lucas is saying?
What? Hang on. I have no idea.
Bedankt, dit var en sehr gode erste indruk van jer. Thank you. It was a very good first impression of you.
Oh,
Oh.
No, I'm not Dutch. It's just really easy to read Dutch. I can't speak it. And I probably butchered it when I read it, but thank you so much, Lucas.
somebody needs to insert that scene from Ace Ventura when he's asking if he could ask you a question. Ask you a question during this trial.
Yes.
I think the dog did leave with someone that night. I don't know, because I need the dog to be there for a little arm massage. Hazy IPA. Oh, that sounds good. Butt dialing and prison wallets. Well, and I saw Sean from Florida today writing something about the tail lights, and I said, I don't know how physics works in the US, but when snow melts in Denmark, it turns into water, and plastic will kind of float away, but it doesn't do that in the Canton Triangle, because this is weirder than the Bermuda Triangle.
True.
Yeah, Matt McCabe said Karen Reed was so loud he thought she would wake the entire neighborhood. Yeah, I love
even the Asian house.
Jen. Oh.
They're the douchiest couple in the entire world.
Well, Afrikaans is kind of Dutch, like. So I did it a year ago while running 1.5 miles. Nice humble brag there, running 1.5 miles. Somehow my phone became unlocked, and not only did I call a couple of family members, but I almost sent some text to. No idea how it happened. Well, Brandon times out people while he's sleeping. So
I mean, it's possible. I'm just saying, it is.
I had
But
my last butt dial was in 2017 on Times Square. That's the last butt dial I have had.
But their butt dials are different. They're picking them up.
Yeah, that's the problem.
They're answering them
So they have
they're answering them and hanging up
butt
on them and
receive
stuff like
and-
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
so it's not even a butt dial,
dials
it's a
back.
butt pickup.
Yeah, it's different than like
Also,
your good old fashioned 17-minute voicemail
yeah,
of just somebody like walking around and talking and rustling in their
Yeah, or-
pocket because they're butt
if
dialing.
Mr. Mo, you know, takes time off of married time to butt dial or butt answer someone, there are going to be words.
well, let's just admit it. We're not that ambidextrous, but ambidextrous. That's the problem.
Really, yeah. I need to see
But
all
it's
of
like,
these asses in action.
but it's just the answer to everything, and it's the stupidest thing in the world. When you have people in this family saying the same thing, like I don't know how anybody can't find that so suspicious.
Yeah, it's just stupid. And again, it's too obvious. And again, you have Arkham's razor when looking for an answer, always take the most obvious one because it's most likely truth, and that's what we see in this one. If I have time Sunday, I might do the defense opening because I think we need that. But tomorrow, 9 a.m., I'll be doing Stab Your Day. Maybe these lovely ladies will join me. I'm looking for another angel. Maybe I should reach out to Danielle. I haven't heard from her much since Tennessee. Maybe she's still drunk. Tonight at 9 a.m., there will be the expert who has his Friday night live show. I have VA bar duty tomorrow, so I'm not sure if I'll be joining, if he'll send me a link, but I'll probably try and get up and jump on it. Tomorrow at 6 or 7, I might be on with the Young Jerks. That's their name. I don't call them that. Doing a panel show about this case, so look out for that. I'll promote it on my channel if and when I get a link. What, if any, promotion will I do? All of it.
True.
Since Tennessee, a lot of red flags everywhere. Hey, Standing Stone, coming in right in time to go away again. Thank you so much for showing that. Remember 1 month Consumer Cellular had a commercial about the agent being butt dialed when someone was on a driving lawnmower. Oh.
That'd be terrible.
I've only gotten fat finger dials or calls from a phone that wasn't locked after it was recently used. Yeah, it's not something that happens when you put it on your nightstand or do the Brian Albert thing. I sleep with it in my bed so I can hear it, but you didn't hear it in the morning. I must have turned it off. Didn't you testify in the Fed inquiry that you were making the springs in the bed move? Well, maybe. And didn't Brian Higgins testify that there was 17 seconds of dead air because, let's be honest, Brian Higgins couldn't move the springs in the bed, so his wife noticed it. Talking about moving the springs in the bed.
Hey guys, it's Mo from Mo in the Deep End. Tomorrow I will probably be on with Baker for Stabby Day, and then Legal Shenanigans Theater is back. Mr. Smith goes to Wisconsin, so we will be, reviewing the best witness one could ever have, Smithy, and then closing arguments in the Chandler Halderson case. So if you have another case that you'd like Legal Shenanigans Theater to cover, then send me, your suggestions on X or, tweet me or comment in the commenty thing, all the things. Have your butt dial me and we'll figure it out.
Oh boy. Oh, hi. Yeah, I'll be there tomorrow too. So everybody come hang out. And yeah, happy Friday.
For anyone who's wondering, no, Bri Jr. couldn't make a woman make noises because he never tried it with a woman. I shouldn't say that. Because I said that, I have to say.
John, I apologize.
What exhibit are you referring to?
I'm going to make this 100, Your Honor. 100. because it is 100% correct.
Objection, Your Honor.
See the lawyer's face? Okay, we have to go back and
Widower case.
Did you, whether it's true or not, believe that Mr. Randolph had slept with your wife?
I wouldn't care.
You wouldn't have cared?
No,
Did you believe he had slept with your wife?
no,
Did you believe he slept with your mother-in-law?
probably did. Everybody has.
wait a minute. I need this story time.
Everybody has.
Everybody has.
Everyone has slept with his mother.
If I showed you.
Oof.
Oh my God.
I'm having a Jamie moment. And the way he just said it, he was just like, everyone did. Things on YouTube.
Mr. Randolph, do you?
I got that against the man. You don't know.
Called him chicken shit.
That's right, you was chicken shit.